Good evening, everyone. I'd like to call to order the July 16th, 2024 meeting of the Kingston Planning Board. It is currently 7:45 p.m., which is the time that we have advertised that we will begin. First of all, I'd like to introduce the people that are here so that you'll know who they are. To my left is our town engineer, Dennis Quintel, followed by Planning Board member Rob Tersolo, followed by Planning Board member Ben Romano, followed by Planning Board member Peter Coffin. To my right is our town planner, Glenn Greenwood, and in the vacant seat, probably soon to come, is Robin Duguay, who is our vice chair of the board. Beside Robin is Liam, oh my God, Jerome. Thanks, Liam. I always fail on one person, one name, getting old, who is a planning board alternate who will be voting tonight. Beside him is our select board representative, Ellie Alessio, and to my right is Robin Carter, who is our land use administrator. I'm Lynn Merrill, and I'm the chair of the board. The first hearing tonight has been withdrawn. So that's good news for the people here for number 2 and number 3. We'll be hearing you sooner rather than later. That was the property at 92-C Main Street and 94 Main Street. So if you happen to be here for 92 and 94 Main Street, there won't be anything going on tonight. And our second applicant is CJ&J Leasing, property owner Greg and Scott Dimitri, at 83 Route 125, map R10, lot 9. This is a site plan review. The application is for a proposed project for a site development of approximately 7 acres of land on a 12-acre lot, which includes the conversion of a single-family residence and mostly undeveloped forested land into paved surfaces for outdoor inventory storage of refrigerated trailers leased by the applicant's business. The applicant is proposing to construct a new commercial building with trailer maintenance service areas, a leasing office, a new private well and septic system, a private fueling station, vehicle washing bay, and stormwater management systems to treat new impervious areas. So, if you would please come forward. We need you to please introduce yourself, tell us who you're representing, and give us your address.
Madam Chair, before we start the actual hearing, I know that all developments require a determination of regional impact. I don't think that's really an issue here, but I'm wondering if we should go through the procedures.
For regional impact?
Regional impact, because we're required to by state law, so.
All right.
RSA 3655.
It never occurred to me that this might have a regional impact.
It doesn't matter whether it does or not. We have to make the determination on all developments.
All right.
So we have to determine whether or not it has a regional impact
Correct.
first. Okay, that's not a problem.
That's not a problem. We can do that.
On this one, it should be very,
No
very
problem.
quick. And I can read the RSA 3655 requirements. And then there's the longer one from the RPC that gives you much more detail.
Right.
But I don't think we need it tonight.
Nope.
The criteria for evaluating whether it has regional impact, and they do say that if there's any doubt, you have to make a decision in favor of regional impact. But number one, the relative size or number of dwelling units as compared with the existing stock. And this doesn't have any dwelling units at all, so it's I would say that's not applicable. And we can discuss, and if there's anybody has other ideas. But rather than voting each one, I think we should just go through them. Proximity to the borders of a neighboring community. I don't think it applies, so it's confirmation there, consensus of the board there. Transportation networks, it's 125, you know. Anticipated emissions such as light, noise, smoke, odors, or particles, that's our local ordinances will cover that, I think. Proximity to aquifers or surface waters which transcend municipal boundaries. That's the key part there. And this isn't in an aquifer protection zone. And shared facilities such as schools and solid waste disposal facilities, and that's not applicable either. So based on the not meeting any of the criteria defined in 3655, I would move that we declare this to be not a regional impact project. Second.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, are you ready for the vote? All those in favor?
Aye.
And that's unanimous, Robin. Okay.
Sorry.
I'm Cindy Terrio with Will House and Bar.
Here you go.
Thank you. All right, try that again. I'm Cindy Terrio with Will House and Bar. We're the civil engineers on the project. Greg Petrie is to my left. To my right is Keith with Dutton and Garfield. And it is right, is Scott Dimitri. Scott and Greg are the owners of the property, and DGI is the builder, design builder. So the property, as you mentioned, is at 83 Route 125, New Hampshire Route 125 in Kingston, which is on the corner of West Shore Lane. The existing site condition. Oh, you're not moving. Hang on. I don't know why it's not moving.
Technology.
I know, right? It's moving here, it's just not moving here. Oh. Okay, there we go. All right. Took a second. Okay, sorry, apologies. The project is to build a building for these guys, 3,000 square feet of office space and 10 bays for the garage for maintenance and washing, vehicle washing and fueling. And then the rest of the property will be used for storage of the unleased units. I do have a rendering here of the building itself, so you can see it a little bit closer, and then also the site plan that's colored up for you guys if you want to take a look a little bit closer. Forward a little bit. Existing conditions on the site, like I said, the project is on the corner of West Shore Park Road and Route 125. There is an existing residence on site that is proposed to be demolished. And there's also a garage on the property that we're also going to demolish in order to build. Here's a view of West Shore Park Road looking east and west. You'll see that there's a little bit of a berm along the road. The property line is right at the top of that berm, so that berm will remain. I know that was a concern of a few folks. So just going through the site plan quickly, there are 10 trailer maintenance service bays, 3,000 square feet roughly of office space. They anticipate 10 to 24 employees. We're proposing 24 spaces of parking. They anticipate about 25 trips per day, including deliveries and service vans. And we do have initial contact with NHDOT to get a driveway permit off of Route 125. Our access is proposed to be off Route 125. As part of the review of the driveway permit with NHDOT, they asked us to move the driveway away from West Shore Park Road. So that's been shifted a little bit from the last time we were here from the preliminary plan, so you may notice that. We shifted the driveway north a little bit in order to accommodate that request by NHDOT. There's an existing driveway curb cut curb cut on West Shore Park Road that we're proposing to close, so that access to the site will not be present anymore. Amazing. I'll just use this to go through my notes here. A dumpster. Do we have? We do. Okay. What's that? Yeah. Yep. So access, like I said, is right off of Route 125. This is approximately 32 feet wide, and the trucks and delivery service vehicles, parking for employees is to your right here. And then these rectangles depict the area that we have for the storage of leased units. Site flow will be in, and either, if it's the tractor trailers, they'll come in this way, go through the bays, and come out and around this way. Or this area here that is depicted in red, that's employee parking. Like I said, there's 24 spots there. These 3 boxes here is the cistern for the fire. Fire chief requested 30,000 gallons of water for us. And what we have here is the building with the bays here, the offices in the front here. We have, this is kind of hard to see, but our dumpster is here in the corner. Propane tank for gas is here. Generator and transformer, thank you, are in the front here as well. And this white area will also be, this white area in front of the building will also be landscaped. These are underground cisterns for the water. The red depicts the area, the 4,000 square foot area for the septic system. We did do septic testing specifically in this location last week, Tuesday or Thursday of last week. We don't have the results of that yet, but they said it looked good based on initial digging. I know somebody from the town did meet the guys out there to do the testing, so that was done. So that looks like it'll be an okay spot for that. We did do other soil testing across the property to get an idea of what the soil conditions were for stormwater management and just general building conditions. Trailer wash water. So this last bay here, and I have the architecturals as well, the last bay here is going to be used for washing and fueling the vehicles. And the wash water system for the trailers is going to be a recycled system, so it'll be a completely closed system, so there's no wash water that will get into the stormwater system at all. So that is a closed system. Pedestrian safety. So the pedestrian movement on site is essentially going to be from the parking lot into the building here. There is a crosswalk here to delineate the travel way from where the storage units are, so we'll have that as well. And other than that, public should not be on the site, roaming around the site. Security, we are proposing a gated entrance that is further into the site. The gate is proposed back here. That'll be locked, and we're looking at remote access for the vehicles to come in and out. During business hours, that gate will be open, and then at the close of business, the gate will be closed and locked. Septic system. A well is proposed back here, sort of just outside the wetland. It is 100 feet. I know this was one of the comments from either Mr. Quintal or Mr. Greenwood, can't recall which. There's a 100-foot buffer around that is 100% on the property, so we'll show that on our plans as well. So we are proposing the water well to be up here. We'll have underground electric services. The plan is to put a new utility pole in this general location, pull the electricity from one of these corner utility poles that is existing, and then bring it over to the building from there. Site lighting. So we have a proposal for site lighting. This is the photometrics plan that we have currently. There was a comment that you would like it to be 0 at the property line, which is understood, so we can do another round of that with the lighting designer. I'm sorry, we're very close.
You're so
yes.
close.
We
I
are
kind
very
of
close.
felt silly commenting on it, but
It's all
you're
good.
so close.
Yep. And so there are a few locations down in this corner and along West Shore Park Road, I think that were a little bit higher. So we'll have them take a look at that again. And then also the Conservation Commission made a comment about no lighting around the vernal pool. So we'll certainly entertain taking care of that vernal pool with the lights and whatnot. We can talk about that a little bit more after. Parking, loading, and circulation. I'm gonna go back to this one. As I said, car parking will be here for visitors and employees, and circulation will be in through here. There is a loading dock here, so any delivery vehicles will use this loading dock in order to deliver whatever the materials are, and then they'll come in and out of that. So that is a 4-foot high. It's depressed into the ground, it's 4-foot high loading dock there. And then this little piece here, this little piece of building here is where the fuel tanks will be. They'll be inside. And then the dispensing for the fuel will be on the outside here. So that's what the plan is for that. Proposed stormwater management system, you see the 2 blue sections up here. What these are
Just real quick, the dispensing is actually happening inside, right? The refilling of the tanks is from the outside,
Yeah.
but you're dispensing it from the inside.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Yeah, that's important, okay. So did you all catch that? The dispensing of the fuel to fuel the trucks is actually gonna be inside the building in the wash bay. And then just to have the truck come in and deliver the fuel will be on the outside.
So it's just like getting oil delivery.
It's
You have
just
an
a
oil
fill station.
The truck will fill up
Yeah.
the tanks from the outside, and then the individual vehicles will be fuel in the building.
Full tanks and pumps and everything inside.
Right. Stormwater management, it's a series of catch basins and pipes that direct the stormwater runoff to underground infiltration systems with isolator rows to remove excess sediment and any pollutants that may appear. And then those are infiltration, and we did produce and submit a stormwater management plan. Thanks. So we have that. Oh yeah, that's much better. 1, 2, we designed with the 50-year storm event, and we'll go through that in more detail if you're interested. I'm happy to do that. Lighting, this is the wash water system, the recycling wash water system that they're proposing for inside. We gave a little bit of detail about that. That'll be designed and whatnot in the future. What we would like to do that we did not show on the plan, for the storage parking areas, we would like to propose recycled asphalt pavement for the storage unit areas only, and then have pavement, regular standard pavement for the circulation areas, the car parking, and the area that's just inside this red line. So we are going to propose that. If the board is open to that, we would love to discuss it. I don't know if there's...
Is that a cost saving exercise?
It is.
Is it also permeable in the blacktop?
Not really.
Question was, is it a cost saving exercise, which it seems to be? Second question was, is it more permeable than a normal flat top surface?
It is a cost savings exercise, and the permeability is about the same. It's just a different material.
Got it.
Yeah.
DES classifies RAP, the reprocessed asphaltic product, is impermeable. However, we've used it in the cemeteries and we never saw any pooling, so the water's got to be going somewhere. I think it does seep down through, but DES says it's impermeable.
Like the difference between asphalt paving and chip seal. I think that's the difference, because a chip seal will be the less expensive by far.
Well, also, this is, all the things that are parked there don't have engines, right?
That's
It's
correct.
just the trailers, so we're not really as concerned about the permeability under the trailers.
Right.
Presuming the refrigerant doesn't leak.
Right. Not, the cabs won't be stored there, it's just the trailers themselves that will be stored on the property.
Right.
Yeah. And this is, I guess this is a little hard to see, but this is the architectural plan of the building. So you see the office space here, and then the 10 bays here, and then the wash bay is this one at the end. The fuel tank, thank you, are here, and then this here is the loading dock. And then there's just a couple of elevations there for you to take a look at that. That's what the building will look like, which is very similar to what we had in the front here, that one. So we're happy to entertain questions. We did receive the comments from Mr. Greenwood and Mr. Quintel, the Conservation Commission, and Board of Selectmen. Mr. Greenwood just gave me the comments there. I can go through those as well. We also do have a couple of waivers that we requested. I don't know, I'm not sure what the process is at this
So
point.
the process now, thank you very much for your presentation. So the process now is for us to get comments from our planner and our engineer, for them to read their comments. Then we will read the comments from all the town departments that have responded. So we have a full amount of information before we can continue with questioning. Once everyone has asked our questions, we've listened to you, then we will open this up for public comment and allow anyone from the public to speak. And then when they have finished the public comment, everyone has said what they want to say, then we'll come back to the planning board to determine next steps.
Okay.
Okay, great. Dennis?
Good evening. So, thank you. That was a good presentation, and the plans are well done. And I got copies of the plan set and all the other documents as well for review. So I have a list of comments, and so they are as follows. Number one was there are numerous items in the legend that do not apply and should be removed, because I was starting to look through here for looking for steam engines or whatever, type of thing. So if they aren't on the plans, they probably shouldn't be in the legend. Number two was no sheet plan number 7. Might have been left out or maybe just misnumbered. Number 3 was one bank of parking spaces was labeled 23, and I only counted 21. Number 4, clarify the fuel bay and tank bay. Are these the locations of the fuel tanks and pumps? So you kind of presented that, answered that in your presentation. Number 5, show spill prevention design and details, which perhaps that's within the building itself, I guess. So number 6, soil test pits must be numbered. Number 7, catch basins must be numbered. Number 8, sheet 6, snow storage area does not seem adequate for the size of the proposed pavement area. I believe it would be difficult to cast snow over the proposed guardrails into an area that's 20 feet wide and 40 feet wide, which you can see that on the plans. Some storage areas for the snow is also shown in the aisles between parking vehicles, and I was just questioning is that practical to do? If you're, I suppose if you're not going to access those those units through the wintertime, it probably is something that you could do. So number 9, sheet 6 shows location of light poles and subsurface utility lines. Should be shown underground electric lines. The lighting plan is provided, but the layout design is different than on the site and utility plan, so they should match. Number 10, retaining walls are proposed Preliminary design, engineered design is provided. Final engineering stamp plans must be provided prior to construction. Number 11, catch basin rims and invert elevations must be shown. If I got a copy of the plan and I was going to put this in, I would have no idea, you know, how to build it without having that information. Show subsurface piping locations that connect the structures. Add note that erosion control blanket be placed on all slopes steeper than 3 to 1. Number 14, show roof downspout locations and how they connect into the subsurface drainage. 15, provide pavement curb details. Number 16, provide sanitary waste disposal location, which you did. I didn't see that on my plan set, but you did show that on your presentation. 17, show the location type of sediment control devices. Number 18, Article 9045G7, provide stamp and signature for all professionals on the plan. 9045G12, provide a planning board signature block. Number 20, G15, note the number of employees. Number 21, G32, provide landscaping plan. 22, 9047A, groundwater monitoring well locations and details must be provided. 23, 9047B, comply with items 1 through 4. I didn't write them down, but they're in the regulations. 24, sheets 10 shows the fire system detail. Much more information is required. I would follow the fire department requirements. 2 tanks are shown, but the site plan shows 3. Number 25, pavement section details are shown for 3-inch and 4-inch surface. The town parking requires 4-inch, so perhaps where you're going to use the recycled asphalt, that could be 3 inches, I suppose. That's what you're intended to do on that. So just to clarify, that would be good. Number 26, stormwater calculations have been provided. Roof catch basin designs to connect in the flow to surface infiltrated chambers. Show that. Plan showing Gallery 1 and Gallery 2 calculations are for Field A and Field C, which connect and calculate to Pond 1. That's in the drainage analysis. All piping, weir, and infiltration trench must be clearly shown and detailed. 27, site-specific cross-sections of these subsurface drainage structures must be shown to identify the soil specifications to be used beneath the units. Number 28, please check since I find the top of units in Field C are at elevation 143.75, where the finished grade is proposed to be 142. The units would be above grade. That's just a drafting thing, I suppose. Number 29, since I find the top of the units in Field A are at elevation 147, and the finished grade is proposed to be 147.5, so there's not enough separation there. Again, that's drafting stuff. Number 30, provide details for overflow weir that is at elevation 145.50. I didn't know where that was, or it should be shown somewhere. 50-year storm peak elevation is 146.5. So where that flow goes should be identified on the plan. 31, Article 90411, engineering site inspection bond shall be provided. 32, Article 90412 and 907, performance bond must be provided. That's the list that I had, and mostly all of this stuff is easily corrected, just shown on the plan, and I think that it can be easily taken care of, and a good set of plans to look at. So thank you for that.
Thank you, Dennis. Clint?
Okay, so I have that, since this is the first public hearing on the site plan review process, the board should consider a motion to invoke jurisdiction and start the 65-day clock. From the number of comments included in my list, I feel such a motion is premature, and that's something the board should talk about. The following are my comments upon reviewing a plan entitled New C.J.&J Leasing Facility, 83 New Hampshire, 125 Kingston, New Hampshire. So, number one, the planning board has determined that this proposal does not require 1,000 feet separation from the truck sales facility located south of the proposal. I have this as a note to ensure that this aspect of the site plan review becomes part of the public record. So that in the future, if anybody asks or doesn't see that we had a design review, they'd know that it was something that was reaffirmed at this meeting. The proposal is for the land zoned, this proposal is for land zone C3. There are also wetlands on site, so the Wetlands Conservation District should also be included in the zoning table that shows on C1.1. A planning board signature block is necessary for those sheets intended for recording at the registry. As the process goes on, we'll determine which pages those are and make sure that that's there. The plan set needs to include a list of local, state, and federal approvals and the dates of issuance of the approvals. The plan set needs a note indicating the proposed number of employees. The plan should indicate snow storage areas as well as a plan for snow removal around all the vehicles for lease, similar to what Dennis was stating. There should be a plan note indicating that the site will comply with the town's noise ordinance. The town needs to be given information regarding amounts and storage protocols for any hazardous materials to be on site. The applicant must work with the town's public safety departments to ensure accessibility to all areas on the site at all times, and I believe a Knox box is being proposed by the fire department, so that's the kind of thing I want to make sure we all coordinate on. The first floor slab elevation for the proposed building must be indicated on the site plan. It may be there, I couldn't find it, but
Make it obvious.
It could be there. The plan is providing 24 parking spaces for the activity associated with the business part from all of the units, separate from all of the unit storage parking spaces. When I utilize the most lenient parking standards found in section 904.14, I come up with 29 required spaces, and I think we're saying 24. So the number of required spaces may be much higher. Once the number of parking spaces required is determined, the applicant can detail how the required landscaping shall be provided. And that's, we have some internal landscaping requirements for parking areas. So I just wanted you to be aware of that and see how that fits.
Right.
If it fits. And so I wanted the discussion to get started.
Sure.
I wasn't sure, is that one of the things that
It
you
is
would
one of
ask
our
for
waivers, yeah.
waivers? I gotta say, I'm in support of those waivers then, because we really intend landscaping in much larger parking areas than this one
Yeah.
will be, no matter what that end number is, so thank you for that. A proposed landscaping should be better defined on the site plan. The lighting plan shows some light pollution going off-site. It is not at a high level, but efforts should be taken to get the boundary light levels to 0-foot candles. The proposal will require an NHDOT access permit as well as a Kingston driveway permit, which is sort of odd. You might not see that in a lot of towns, but we do require a local one as well. I believe an NHDES alteration of terrain permit is required for this proposal. How is fire protection proposed to be delivered to the new buildings? Well, I'm assuming it's going to be in that 30,000 gallon cistern, so
Yes.
that was a really easy one for you to answer. The applicant should provide a wash plan indicating how vehicle washing will take place on site and what kinds of cleaning solvents will be used. Understanding now that it's all interior greatly alleviates my concern about a washing plan. So I'll leave it to the board to discuss with you how much they feel that's necessary, knowing it's not just going to be an open area someplace on site.
Right.
The applicant needs to provide a detailed site plan of the refueling stations proposed for the site and how will spills and potential contamination be prevented. And again, having that interior really is a higher degree of security than having it be off-site someplace, so I do really appreciate the presentation. Is there a need for here's one. Dennis very cleverly just said monitoring wells are needed.
Right.
I say, is there a need for groundwater monitoring for this vehicle service facility? Mainly because in that part of the site plan review regs is talking about motorized vehicles, and the majority of these are non-motorized vehicles.
Correct.
So I just want to bring it to the board's attention that that's something you should be talking about. And I go on to say, I need to understand the volume of activity that will take place in order to have this question answered. And then finally, I have, there will need to be development of a bond to cover the stormwater management features on site. And those are mine.
We did receive some department comments from the various departments in town. The first one listed is from the Conservation Commission. The Conservation Commission has reviewed this project several times in the past few months and has received correspondence from concerned residents regarding the project. The Conservation Commission has concerns about the wetlands near the site, not only regarding the impact of the vernal pool, but also the possibility of pollution draining into Country Pond, an already compromised wetland complex and pond, which is now slated for MS4 permit improvements. On July 11th, Cynthia Terrio, senior engineer for Wilcox and Barton, appeared before the Conservation Commission to present the current plans for building a refrigerator trailer storage facility on the site and to answer questions. The Conservation Commission expressed the following concerns regarding this project: drainage and hazardous waste management. As there will be trucks on site, the handling of hazardous materials and plans for mitigating stormwater runoff is a primary concern. We feel the planning board should consider the difficulty that the town has had in the past holding developers accountable for maintaining systems when they fail. With increasingly unstable weather, there is an increased risk of these systems being unable to handle future extraordinary rain events. Lighting. Lighting will have a significant impact on the vernal pool. The Conservation Commission requested that lighting be kept away from the vernal pool on the northeast side of the project, and that if lighting should become necessary, it be turned off during vernal pool breeding season, early spring through early summer. Wetland buffer. Ms. Terrio asked on behalf of the owners if they could grade in the 100-foot wetland buffer during construction. The Conservation Commission stated that the buffer is unnegotiable and there can be no incursion at any time. The Conservation Commission has contacted the USDA, which holds a conservation easement on the abutting Lone Tree Campground parcel, for their opinion. The USDA stated that they're unable to take a position pro or con on any plan that does not directly impact the easement. According to the town's master plan, visioning and land use sections, the town should ensure orderly growth and discourage sprawling and haphazard development, ensuring that industrial and commercial development is appropriate to the community. Carefully review industrial and commercial development to ensure they're safely sited and will not adversely affect the community. Control residential expansion with a blend of responsible businesses, industrial parks away from residential areas, maintain rural character, preserve rural quality. We feel that such a business being situated directly beside a rural camping area and 124 acres of woodlands and wetlands is incompatible with the vision set forth in the master plan, submitted by Evie Nathan, Chair. We also received department comments from the Heritage Commission. The Heritage Commission has a program, I think we talked about this at the last meeting, to document through photos and narrative historic houses that are subject to demolition due to neglect or intent. We understand that the house on subject property is to be demolished. The house appears to be a good example of 1920s bungalow-style house. If it is, the Heritage Commission would like permission from the property owner to conduct a review and document it. The review can normally be completed in one day. The Commission would arrange a visit on a day agreeable to the property owner. Since the documentation is completed, once the documentation is completed, a copy is provided to the property owner for their records. The Fire Department. See attached sheet for previous comments. Note cistern specifications. Tank construction should be fiberglass or polypropylene. All efforts should be made to meet this requirement. See Article 1008.3, Section B, Note 4. And their previous comments were Knox box at the entry, monitored fire alarm system to meet NFPA, Building must meet all NFPA codes and standards. Fuel storage and dispensing to meet any applicable NFPA standards. Install and maintain 300,000 gallon cistern per Article 1,000. 30,000. Thank you.
Yes.
Okay. Been a long, hot day. Install and maintain 30,000 gallon cistern per Article 1008 Kingston Fire Protection Regulations. And then they attach their regulations. I think that was it. Oh, and one other thing we wanted to comment. Oh, wait a minute, here we go. There's one more here. Board of Selectmen. Will there be acceleration, deceleration lanes on Route 125? Didn't notice a landscape plan sheet, is there one? Provide cut sheets for light fixtures and statement that site will comply with lighting ordinance. Will lighting be on all night? If so, would suggest dimming between 11 p.m. and dawn. And then the only other thing that I wanted to comment was, as you know, there was a lawsuit regarding this parcel, and that lawsuit has been withdrawn with prejudice. Okay. So, those are the comments from the department heads. Does the board have any other comments or questions that they'd like to talk about? Okay. Seeing none, let's open this for public comment. So is there any member of the public, so if you guys wouldn't mind stepping back so that they can come forward to the microphone. Thank you very much. Is there anyone that would like to give any public comment on this proposal? Yes, sir. So when you give public comment, what you need to do is you need to give us your name and where you live.
My name is John Cranberg. I'm here in capacity as chairman of the cemetery trustees. I just became chairman and realized you wanted written comments. The only concern that the trustees have, I believe, pardon?
You need to be closer to the microphone.
Yeah, go ahead, sit down.
Sit down. There you go.
I'll be the judge of that. So the only concern of the trustees, which I think I really can't address directly because my understanding is the plan has changed, is that, and we would leave it to defer to the planning board to implement our concerns, appropriately and fairly to the developers, is addressing drainage and snow disposal and removal areas, and also whatever you can do in terms of a buffer zone. Not that the residents of the cemetery be particularly disturbed one way or the other, but there are family members who visit there regularly.
Okay.
But we would defer to you to see that those concerns are properly addressed in fairness of the development. That's all.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Is there any other public comment? Seeing none, we will close public comment. May I all come back?
Did have, just to give them a chance to address some of the comments like the select board. Yeah, okay, thanks, yeah, I do. Okay, yeah.
All right, so we've had a number of comments here, primarily drainage, vernal pool, lighting, etc. Would you like to respond to any of the comments that have come forward?
Sure. Yes. I guess we can do this in a organized fashion. And I think many of the comments, some of them overlap, which is great. So yes, there is an HDOT driveway permit that's required. Like, as I said, it is in process with review. It's under review currently with the DOT. We also need to submit an alteration of terrain permit, which will, they will review the drainage and whatnot, construction processes for the property. I appreciate your review, thank you. And as you said, many of these comments can be addressed by adding detail to the plan, which we have no problem with doing. I would like to talk about snow storage for a minute. That was a common comment amongst everyone. So what we're proposing for snow storage is in the storms. See if you can see the snow storage areas are on the sloped area here, in the aisle between the storage containers here. We do have some proposed past the guardrail and then along the slope here along the side of the parking lot. We'll likely end up having a little bit of snow storage over here too for this parking lot. In the larger storms, snow can be removed. The reason we added snow storage in the middle of the area here is largely because those are going to be the units that are not necessarily used all the time, so they won't be needing to remove them and put them back and remove them, put them back. So they were comfortable with having the snow storage in the middle of the aisle, in the back portion of the site.
Can I interrupt? Wouldn't the fire department need some access back there? I know you're not pulling out the trailers through the winter, but you still have to have egress into the property in case there was an emergency, a fire, whatever. Am I right about that or not? It doesn't, well, because you're going to be having snow stored there, it doesn't matter?
They would need access to the back corner?
That's what she's asking.
I'm just asking you.
We could certainly discuss it with the fire department.
Okay, as long as they're happy.
Egress in and out of the site
Right.
won't be an issue.
Because even though the trailers won't be moved in and out throughout the winter, let's say January, February, March, you would probably still need to have cleared path roads through the property in order to have access should there be an emergency. That's where I was going with this, nothing esoteric.
Yeah, I think with the fire department, to be able to access the trailers that are parked there over winter, I can't answer that question. I'll defer to a fireman.
So there's two options that I see. I am on the department, I'm not speaking on behalf of the department. One is you guys call it a loss and we don't put it out. As long as it's not having an exposure risk for 50 other trailers in a row, right? Two, you would want to be able to get a truck down there. Obviously we can hump hose down there, but if you're piling, it really depends on the amount of snow. If the snow is 12 feet high because you've got loaders in there that can put snow way up high and really stuff it in, then that makes pulling hand lines and everything really hard to get back there. If it's a normal, knee-high amount of snow that's being stored out there, then we'll pull it out there and try and put the fire out. But again, I'm not speaking on behalf of the department, it's my own opinion. And if you have any questions or suggestions, I'm open to them as well.
Did you want to?
I do. So on the back part of the lot, like Cindy said, all of
Just move this just a little closer. Thank you.
on the back part of the lot, like Cindy said, majority of those trailers will be there when they come back toward the end of the season in December, late December, and all through March when they come back. They're just going to sit there. What we do now is when we plow, because we know those trailers are not going out, we plow the snow underneath each of those trailers. So it does leave an access the way, our lot's a little bit different than this, but we're gonna be doing the same thing where we know these trailers are not gonna be going out. It doesn't matter if we jam the snow underneath it, so we just push the snow. When it gets to a point when there's a lot of snow and the snowbanks don't move or they're frozen, we'll probably just push them one big pile towards the end part of the lot. But, that will be clear, in the aisle.
Trucks are no more than 12 feet wide typically, so as long as we can get one down there and have a foot on either side to pull a line off it, it doesn't bother me any, and I'll be happy to put a fire out back there.
Okay. Lighting. There's a lot of questions about lighting.
Well, that area of town is particularly a dark sky area. There are no street lights on the side roads in the back. a lot of those people have telescopes and such, so they really seem to appreciate the dark sky. So keeping the light on the property is going to be important
Right.
to the community.
And the proposal right now, we certainly can propose dimmers. I don't recall if they did, but.
Sure, it's not, we can definitely look into it.
We can look into the dimmers. Like I said, we can have the lighting crew take a look again at reducing to zero along the property line, and also at the vernal pool. We'll make sure that there's no light back there. Conservation Commission also asked about turning it off in April during breeding season. And that's, are you,
I don't have a problem with that,
okay,
because you're talking more in the back area.
here,
It is back.
Yeah, I mean,
in
it's,
this area.
and, you know, it's all gonna be blocked with trailers anyways.
Pull up, do you want to go to the next slide?
Yeah, so I think right now you have all the poles on the property line facing inward anyways.
They are, yep. So these are light fixtures, and I didn't put the light fixtures themselves on this plan, but they're dual head light fixtures, 24 feet high. We can have them take a look at it. They also didn't write it down, but they asked about color, so we can talk about that. Could they have the yellow lights instead of white? I don't know, LED has a lot of capabilities now, so I believe we can look into that as well. So we can certainly adjust the lighting plan to accommodate the comments here. And currently, mostly the lights will be on during business hours, and then security lights after hours. The selectman asked, what was their question? Did I see that? Can we dim between 11 p.m. and dawn?
And if it's dim, I mean, it's only there for safety anyways,
It's there, right?
in case of an emergency, but if it's dim, I don't have a problem with that.
Yeah. So yes, I guess the answer to that is yes. We can do that, and we'll provide written comments, written responses to all of these comments for the record as well.
Will they be able to do that, the lighting company?
Yeah.
They have that technology?
Oh, sure. Yeah.
It might not be in the lighting, it would be where they're wired to, just be out the time.
Yeah. Okay, snow, lighting, catch basin detail. Regarding Mr. Quintel's and Mr. Glenwood's comments around the monitoring wells, we did request a waiver from that as well, from that portion of the site plan review regulations. So when it comes to that, we can talk about that. We will provide you a landscaping plan. You wanted to talk about parking, so we can talk about parking.
Yeah, how exactly did you come up with that figure?
I did not see in your regulations something that really fit. So, did I write it in my description
It's a
here?
904 something.
Oh, I didn't even write it in the description.
And I do agree with you that we have a lot of different categories, but not one that really fit you well.
One didn't really fit well, so I either used just the office one, the 3,000 square foot for the office building, or I did a hybrid and assumed one for every employee, max. So their maximum anticipated employee is 24 at this location. So that's,
Did we include, we were gonna put a couple more behind on
yeah.
the parts area?
So there is room for 2 more spots here next to the dumpster if we need it. And then we can extend the parking lot here a little bit if we need to. If you would like us to get to 29, these guys are comfortable with
29 was
24.
the most lenient that I could find, and their descriptions consistently have been that there isn't a lot of daily traffic generated at this site. So the concern should be making sure there's enough for employees, clearly, because if you can't cover that, you're really failing. But I just want to make sure everyone's comfortable with what number we agree to in that end round.
That begs the question, the 24 employees, you said, is that at any one time, or is that the total number of employees and that might be working shifts? So what would be the largest number of employees at any time, if you had a
On-site.
busy season?
And right now, we're not even close to 24, we're just expecting.
I know, you need to plan
Growth,
for growth in the
exactly.
future, right, got it, but
What are you currently, what would your max be?
Currently, we have 12, 14 right now, employees at that location.
Does everybody work 7 to 7? I think it's his question, like, do you, or?
I guess,
Yeah.
because
Yes.
we're kind of vague when we ask the question, how many employees, in an operation that's open 12 hours a day, you're not gonna have all employees there all day. Really the question we should be asking is, what's the maximum number of employees that would be on site at any one time? So,
I'm gonna say probably right now 14 to 16.
yeah, but with growth in the future, so maybe
It gives plenty of room, and plus, if any vendors or telemarketers or salespeople that want to come in, at least there'll be available spots. But, right now, I mean, we do have employees that some start at 7, some start at 8, and then there's a couple coming at 9. But when everybody's there, I mean, at the peak, probably 16.
And just, I don't know if I'm gonna add, but, excuse me, but, some of the guys have vans that we supply them, so they may come in or leave, depending on it, so they might, there the whole time, they may be doing some calls off-site somewhere else, so they're not, might not always have.
Yeah, so some of the technicians take their service truck home and don't bring in their vehicle, their personal vehicle. So when they come in, if they are coming in to work on the property, most of the time they'll be coming in and restocking their parts and fluids and heading back out. But if they're in and they're gonna be working with their service truck, they'll be in one of the 10 bays. They have their truck because they have their tools and they need to get in and out of the truck for their tools or whatever parts they need for that particular job.
It seems to me if we could get to 29, that gives them quite a bit of expansion ability over the next few years if things really go well. And it's a big site. I think you could probably find more parking spaces if you needed them. But this would cover basically one per, it covers the office requirement, which is 3 per 1,000 square feet. And so that shot me right up to 9 just for that 3,000 square feet.
Right.
Which is a killer, but that is something that's really in our regulations, so you need to hold to those. And then working with you in a sort of a flexible way to get to that 29 would certainly be a legitimate number according to our regulation, and does seem to give you some growth potential.
Any other comments, responses? Dennis?
So along those lines, as far as the difference between the number of employees in the summertime versus the wintertime, it might make a difference on the parking spaces available where these units are too. So in the wintertime, if it's full, then you may not need as many employees during the wintertime. In the summertime, if you have more employees, they got plenty of room to park because a lot of these units are going to be gone. So the other comment I had was about the snow storage, and I understand putting it in that aisle makes a lot of sense, but I look at the area, if I can push my button here. Here, that's 40 feet wide, and that's a good-sized area to plow piled snow. But I don't know how you can get it there if there's a guardrail there. And if this area is all full of trailers, how do you get the snow from here all the way over there, or across the back, or down this slope here, which is 15, at least 15 feet wide? If all of these trailers are there, I don't see how you can put the snow out here. So maybe you have an aisle through here that you can open up and put snow out here, but I don't know how you can do that. Maybe you can explain that to me, and how these units get moved around. Like you say, a lot of them stay here during the winter, so maybe you could just identify an area where some would be left off to give you access not only for plowing snow areas, but also some areas where not only on this side here, but also on this side, in case there is a reason for fire department to get out, if there was ever a forest fire around here, I don't know, maybe, but perhaps that would be in the summertime anyways, and the units wouldn't be there. But I was just thinking about, there's quite a few units piled in here and packed in there, and the sequence of when you park them, where you park them, and whatever, could just functionality of how you can pile snow out in those areas. So that's all I have to say about that. So sometime on your response letter, you can address those things along with our other comments.
Anyone else have any questions or comments?
Just, maybe you know the answer to this. The two houses that were built between the camp and this lot off to the right, are those in rural residential or single family, or what's the zoning there abutting this? Because I know on the other side of West Shore Park, it goes back, it's,
but I'm not sure.
yeah, it's residential zone anyway. And there's a house lot, so that would be a 50-foot buffer area, right? Because it's a zone, so 50 feet for everything, including parking areas and stuff. So just wanted to make sure that that was. You have 50 feet there, yeah.
Yeah.
It's just that slope. And my next question is, what's the final coverage, impervious surface coverage, so the gray area on there as a percentage?
This plan shows 57.2% impervious.
Okay, and it's a
And the
maximum.
requirement is less than 60, is my understanding.
Well, that's C1. I thought C3
This
was
is
50. I think gotta look back at that, because I remember thinking it was odd that it was slightly different. I think maybe C1 is because we changed that to allow the warehouse.
That is rural residential according to the town map.
Yeah, it's okay, so that's rural residential, and then we have residential lot. Well, one other thing that, for Mr. Pramberg, is the dashed line that you see where the vernal pool is, and there's a dashed line that goes across the white area, is that the line separating the residential lot from the cemetery lot?
This?
No, over to your left a little bit, there's a dashed, yeah, that one.
That's my understanding, that's the property line.
Right, so the cemetery really is going to be abutting the vernal pool zone.
Correct.
And so it should not have any, it should not really have any impact on the cemetery, because they can't build in there or pave in there or anything else, so.
Did the plan change? I think, I looked at something that wasn't laid out like this when I came.
Oh, sorry, you go, come back up, did we close public comment?
I was looking at something that seemed to be quite different. Did the plan change?
A little bit.
Yeah.
Just the entrance.
Not significantly. This area here changed.
Yeah, I don't think that part of the plan changed. I just wanted, since we're answering all these questions, and that was an open one, that if you look where that dashed line is, that the cemetery is to the north of that, so.
That is the line.
Yeah.
According to the map.
Yeah.
And it looks like there's maybe 100 feet that abuts the vernal pool area.
As I said, I trusted you to look out for us, and the more I looked at it, the more it seemed like it would be okay.
Yeah, I think we're good on that one.
And Peter, this lot falls outside of the aquifer protection zone.
Yeah, I know that.
And for lots outside the aquifer protection zone, a lot coverage shall be no more than 75%.
Okay, let me see, where's the,
It's,
what's the C1, C3 in section?
it's C3, it's section 110.7, lot coverage. In my book, it's page 110-5, and then goes over one page, 110-6. So it's 50%.
Of lots outside the, lot coverage, no more than 75%?
Correct.
Yeah, I was looking at the first page where it says,
that's
lot
if
coverage
you're
may be increased up to 50% if the applicant, okay,
But that's if you're in the aquifer protection zone.
yeah, okay, so,
This lot,
Yeah, so-
remarkably, all falls outside of the aquifer protection zone.
Yeah, I know, I
Even though
remember
the
that.
aquifer protection zone is everywhere around me. That's not your doing, that's God's doing.
There you go.
That's just the way it
Okay.
goes.
Thank you.
So, moving along, I guess what we have here are just a couple of things. The first thing is, do we accept jurisdiction?
I would suggest, well, to answer that question first,
And then, my question is, if we accept, do you take waivers before or after jurisdiction? I would say after
Can't do any
jurisdiction.
waivers.
Until after jurisdiction,
Yes.
correct?
Yeah.
If the board, and I'm gonna say, a lot of work has been done on this plan. So usually when you see me have a list of 22 items, it's because I'm feeling like a lot of work hasn't been done on the plan. That isn't the case here. Anytime you give a lot of information, it's likely that there are going to be differences in interpretations and how I look at the ordinance as opposed to how they're looking at the ordinance. So I encourage you to talk about jurisdiction because a ton of work has been done on this. And I am not saying that this is an inadequate plan, which is usually what I'm saying when I have 22 comments. That's usually the state of affairs. And I just, because we're not in the aquifer protection management, we're not talking about hydrogeologic studies, we're not talking about conditional use permit information that they have to provide. And invoking jurisdiction starts a 65-day clock.
right, and that was the big issue, and I know you had some hesitancy about it first, but then when you talked about the driveway permit, and especially the, what's the other state permit? Alteration of terrain. We're talking about things that are outside of our control in terms of timing, and we have dealt with the state. We're still, applicant dealing with the state back with, is it finished thing, but it can take months and years for the state to come up with a decision. And if we're on a 65-day shot clock, that they're stopping us from continuing on, or you from continuing on also, we're shooting ourselves in our foot if we accept jurisdiction. So I would move that we do not vote to accept jurisdiction just based on those state requirements that are outstanding, because that's
But
beyond.
remember that for state permits, we can do a conditional approval.
Correct.
Because we, just for that reason.
Oh, well, yeah,
We
because-
have no jurisdiction over that decision.
Right.
And on those topics, within our site plan review, that we have no jurisdiction, all we can do is say, that's a condition of our approval. And we often put either 90 or 100 days on it, and sometimes we have to extend it because they don't have the state permit.
The only problem is if the state comes back and says you need to change this, need to change that, all of a sudden,
If it's impactful to the site, then
it can mess up, yeah. We can start,
That's a crapshoot.
yeah.
That's a crapshoot.
So would your recommendation be that we accept jurisdiction?
My comment says that I have 22 comments. But I do want to convey the fact that invoking jurisdiction is starting the 65-day clock. If you feel comfortable with the information that's been provided to you. And a ton of information has been provided to us. where there is no discrepancy. And I think that we've just talked about probably 5 of my comments being removed through the discussion tonight.
Can we ask the applicant, do they think the 65-day window is too short?
We do not.
You do not? Well, then that settles my disappointment.
Do we have a motion?
I move that we take,
Accept jurisdiction.
accept jurisdiction.
They have to accept the application.
That helps too, okay, for this applicant, or C, J and J Leasing.
Do we have a second? We have a motion, we have a second. Do we have any further discussion? Seeing none, are you ready for the vote? All those in favor? Opposed? 5 in favor, 1 opposed. We have accepted jurisdiction. Shall we deal with the waivers?
Yes, I think you should certainly talk about the waivers.
Okay. Shall we start with waiver number 1?
Great, thank you. Okay, the waiver number 1 is regarding the size of the site plan. Requires 24 by, we are requesting that a 24 by 36 plan be accepted where 22 by 34 is required. It's a minor thing, but on your, and I don't know if we need a waiver for this or not, but it is on your site plan
It's on the site
checklist.
plan. It is on our site plan, so requesting the waiver is appropriate, knowing that that's the size that's required by the registry.
Right.
So whatever plans we require in the end run to be recorded have to meet that size,
They have to meet the registry.
or they won't accept them.
Right.
And they won't accept them.
Right, oh, yes, we've had this
Zero
discussion.
wiggle room.
Right. So obviously the plans that get submitted to the registry will meet whatever the registry standards are. Our request for the 24 by 36 is simply, it's a large site, so it's from a scale perspective, it's easier for us to show it on a 24 by 36. It's a minor thing, but that is one of our waiver requests. We don't believe that this will nullify the intent and purpose of the site plan regulations.
Will the registry accept that?
I don't think they will. I don't think they will. So they would have to adjust to the other size for the 4 or 5 pages that we record.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, you would have to adjust it later on, but for this presentation, it works for the town.
Yeah, so I would suggest that, I'll move that we approve the waiver with the understanding that the appropriate scale be provided for the registry of deeds.
Second. We have a motion, we have a second. Do we have any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? None. Waiver number 2.
Okay. General standards, section 904.6.d, general standards. The required buffer zone shall not be less than 50 feet when separating a non-residential lot from a residential lot. And there must be more words in there, I just put ... Buffer area shall be planted with a screen of shrubbery and trees not less than 6 feet in height at the time of planting. The screen shall be at least 15 feet in width and shall be maintained by the owner. In order to maintain a dense screen year-round, at least 50% of the planting shall consist of evergreens. Existing natural growth may be considered as part of the screening by the planning board. At the discretion of the planning board, the standards described above for landscape buffer areas may be waived in favor of alternate forms of screening, including but not limited to stockade fencing. We are proposing to landscape the area between the residential, well, I said residences, the residential lots with no less than the following criteria. The buffer areas will be planted with a screen of shrubbery and trees not less than 6 feet in height at the time of the planting. The screen shall be at least 15 feet in width and shall be maintained by the owner. In order to maintain a dense screen year-round, at least 50% of the planting shall consist of evergreens. We actually talked about all of them being evergreens, I believe. So what we're requesting is a waiver of the 50 feet requirement in this location here against this residential property. In this portion of the property, there's, I believe we have 25 feet of space, maybe 30, I don't recall exactly what it is, but so our request is a waiver of the 50-foot buffer, but we will plant dense plantings in this location.
Do you want to change the 50-foot buffer to a 25-foot buffer?
They're talking about 15 feet of plantings.
It's less than that, it's like 18, 20 on the side.
It's 20.
It says 5.
And you also, in that area, there's a 10-foot wide right-of-way that goes back to the USDA area. Are you talking about keeping that open or closing that? Because that cuts your buffer in half if you had to maintain it as an open.
So we do need to maintain access. I believe there's a trail that goes, actually the trail goes back here. The trail's back here. Like this is a trail here.
Right, but there's a recorded deeded right-of-way, and you mentioned it in your notes, because it came up before, it was mentioned, it was noted by one of the former planning board members when you came in for the preliminary review.
So this here is what he's talking about. This
And you have, it shows it on
goes all the way along the side.
the plans as running
Yeah. so our
parallel
exist-
to the property line.
Right. Our existing conditions plan shows the access easement along the property line with this residential, that residential lot goes right around from Route 125, around the residential lot to the back, all the way to the back. And then there's a trail back here as well. So yes, that would need to remain open. So then we would have, well, we could have 5 feet of that and then landscape 15, or we could do 10 and 10, I suppose, of dense
Yeah,
planting.
I don't think the deed specified a width. I think on the plan, from before you purchased it, the plan that they had been drawn up by a surveyor showed a 10-foot wide right-of-way. So, at any rate, if that was open, then you're now cutting
Then
it
it's
down
10,
to
yeah, it's 10 feet of planting.
10 feet of plantings, where we normally require 50. And I think when you're getting down to that kind of number, there's two things that I would want to consider. One, and I guess should ask if the butters, since that property was sold, since you came in before, there are new landowners there, and it'd be interesting to know what their preference would be, because the fence would certainly provide more of a sound and visual barrier, and may be preferred by the abutting landowner, especially if you're trying to get a waiver from the 50-foot requirement. I would be very hesitant to grant a waiver from 50 feet down to 10 feet.
You haven't had any contact with that new abutter? That property was recently changed hands.
Can I just ask, is the area for those units that important?
Yeah, they have a lot of storage units.
Because it is a pinch point,
Right.
and it is a residence that's right there.
So you would lose probably about 10 spots.
From what we have now.
Right. If we had to provide, yes, if we had to provide a 50-foot landscape buffer. So that's why. I understand your point, Mr. Greenwood.
It just, it's a really obvious residential use, a really obvious residential use.
So if you took out several spaces, then you'd have more room for the buffer, is that correct?
Correct.
So we're talking the difference between 10 feet or 50. Can we go somewhere in between and say 30 feet? So that the waiver is only for 20 feet and therefore you might lose 2 spaces, but I think you want a good neighbor in that back lot, so you gotta do something. I mean, another alternative would be, we were a little gun shy about landscaping because we've had difficulties enforcing the beautification of particular properties. I mean, we could always charge a bond, I would imagine, and then if we're not happy or the neighbor isn't happy, that we could spruce it up. But I think I'd rather deal with the footage now and waiver 20 feet instead of 40 feet.
You spoke to the neighbor, is there any conversation?
Not the new neighbor. No, I have not.
If we were to get a letter from the abutter, an agreement letter from the abutter, would the board be open to, I guess, can we table the
Is the abutter
waiver?
in the
Is
room?
that?
Just making sure, okay.
Did the butter
I
actually get?
noticed not a lot of people left.
I know, did the butter get a notification? Because, well, that's what, because of the new butters. Okay, so the butter list did change. Yeah, but
These plans are put together.
Lynn, I think there was a question whether we can table the waiver or not.
Certainly, we can table the
oh yeah,
waiver.
we don't need to vote on it.
We don't need to vote on it tonight, no.
There's no motion on the floor.
No.
Certainly, it's something that we can hold off on. Certainly want to know how it'd be nice if the butters were in agreement.
If, right,
Because-
that's what I'm wondering, if we can get a letter from the abutter that says they're okay with the 20 feet, as long as there's a fence, or as long as there's a row of arborvitaes, or whatever the case may be, would the board be open to?
And I'd want to know what the screening was going to be. I want to know what your landscape plan is before I voted on such a waiver,
Okay.
personally. Not speaking as the chair, but personally.
Lynn, could I make a comment too? Isn't that part of the walkway that goes around there too? So you wouldn't be able to plant where the walkway is. So you're really not, reducing it to 20 feet of a buffer because there's a walkway there too. So it's going to be less than 20 feet.
Right, I
Yeah,
think
that's
that's
about the
what,
discussion about the
saying.
10-foot right-of-way that's shown on the survey.
Right.
You can't block access along there by putting up arborvitae. So, but we could include it in the 50-foot buffer as long as it met the requirements for the plantings, the remaining
So
40
why don't
feet.
let's move on. Let's
Yeah.
wait on this until you find out what the abutter feels, until we see some sort of a landscape.
Okay,
Landscape plan or fence alternative, because I
Some
think
sort of
that.
screening.
Yeah, I think anything
Until we
less.
see a screening.
Or loss of units.
Yeah,
well, we'll come
that's-
back with another plan that the abutter is happy with,
Okay.
or that meets your regulations.
Did you have how many waivers are there?
I'm sorry?
How many waivers do you, I'm just curious.
1, 2, 2 more,
Okay.
3 more, I'm sorry, there's 3 more.
So waiver number 3?
Vehicle sales, service, storage, and reconditioning, section 904.7. This is a requirement for groundwater test wells and monitoring wells for the property. The trailers to be stored on the property will be empty and parked only on the paved surfaces. Vehicle service, fueling, and washing are all proposed to be entirely indoors, and the recycling wastewater system is a completely closed system. So as I said before, it's not going to be impacted. Extraordinary hardships or difficulties would result from strict compliance, and we don't believe that the waiver would have an effect on the intent and purpose of the regulation. So we're requesting that a monitoring study not be needed, that this whole section not be considered applicable to our property and use.
Dennis, how do you feel about that?
Well, all the stormwater is going to go into the ground, and certainly there are storage units there, but there still can be contaminants from vehicle trucks in and out of there, vehicle cars going in and out of there, and all the drainage goes into catch basins, which ultimately goes into the ground through the stormwater chambers. So I don't know, as far as I'm concerned, I think I would be concerned about groundwater, because this is close to Mill Stream or Millbrook, and the groundwater that goes right directly to that eventually goes to Country Pond. So certainly up to the board, but it would certainly be a concern that I would have, and I think Conservation talked about that as well. So.
Yeah, and we've talked about it at gas stations and where they're doing, we have an internal fueling facility. That's all going to go through a separator, but it's still...
It's all interior there, but you also have a wash bay, and the wastewater from that is being contained and treated and whatnot to a certain degree, but there's still some contaminants that could get through there into the drainage system. So the monitoring wells, a couple of monitoring wells at the lower end of the project is not a, to me, I don't see as that as a big expense to what this site is and the amount of impervious surface on the site. So, but that's, again, my personal opinion, so, but you certainly can make a decision yourself.
Yeah, and based on the comments from Dennis and from the Conservation Commission and the proximity to Millbrook, I would move that we do not waive the monitoring requirement for the site.
How many wells would be required? Is that a plan that the applicant comes forward with?
I would think that they could propose something and have the board review it. So it's all basically the drainage is heading to the northerly direction of the site. So whether you have 1 or 2 monitoring wells, I wouldn't think you'd need much more than that. Other properties, sometimes you need 6 or 8, but I would think in this case, you'd probably want to have something to test to verify that there's no impacts.
Well, it's I mean, because just 2 doors down, you've got all the heavy equipment and trucks and that sort of thing with no monitoring wells, and across the street,
They're a lot
the
further.
same thing with no
They're a lot further away from.
Yeah, from the pond.
Exactly.
Yeah, I agree. I'm just saying, just making sure that we're consistent, that's all, with what's needed. So we have a second for the motion.
I'll second it. Just get things moving.
Okay. Do we have any further discussion? All right, I guess you're ready for the motion. All those in favor of requiring some sort of water monitoring system, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, that one is unanimous. And item number 4.
All right, section 904.14.B, C, and D, access management. The frontage of the lot along Route 125 doesn't allow for the entry drive to be placed and comply fully with all of the standards of this section. Access B says access to lots with multiple frontages. Subdivision proposals involving lots with frontage on more than 2 roads shall be encouraged by the planning board to access the roads with the lower average daily traffic. That would mean our entry would be on West Shore Park Road. To us, that doesn't make sense for this site. C, corner clearances, lots with frontage upon more than 2 streets can, in instances where evidence is provided by the planning board, access the roadway with greater average daily traffic if the proposal complies with the following standards. And then there's a table. West Shore Park Road is a stop sign controlled intersection. It's our understanding that scenario A applies. There's the little, do you guys have a copy of my thing. There's a, yeah, okay. There's a table in your regulations which says the distance for intersections of Lot A, stop sign controlled, would be 115 feet. The speed limit of Route 125 in this location is 45 miles per hour. The frontage of the lot along Route 125 doesn't allow for the entry drive to be located to comply fully with the standards. The proposed distance to the residential driveway to the north is 142 feet, and the proposed distance to the intersection of West Shore Park Road is 217 feet. NHDOT requested that the driveway be at least 200 feet from the intersection with West Shore Park Road, and the entry drive was relocated to minimize disturbance to the existing utilities on Route 125, the utility poles and the catch basins. And then D, I'll just do the whole thing. D, the minimum distance between the driveways, on the same and opposing sides of the roadway, including all road intersections shall be measured from the center line of the driveways at the right-of-way line and shall be a function of the posted speed in accordance with the following table. Again, highway speed's 45, that would mean that we would need 230 feet of spacing between the driveways where we only have 142. And 217 to West Shore Park Road. That's that section. So we did our best to put the driveway entrance at least 200 feet away from West Shore Park Road. That does not meet the town standards. Moving the drive 230 feet away from West Shore Park Road would move it closer to that residential lot. And it would interfere with the utility poles that are already existing on the site. So for that reason, we're requesting a waiver of these standards.
Comments from the board? Motion from the board.
I'm just going to the comments, just came up with this select board comment about the accel, decel lanes. If the reason there aren't any is because of the short distances, or because the utility poles would have to be moved?
Oh, we anticipate that the review by the DOT will tell us whether or not we need to do accel and decel lanes. We just aren't there yet.
Okay.
We just don't know yet.
All right, so that's not...
It wouldn't change the location of where we are.
Where the driveway is, but
this.
yeah.
Yeah.
So I certainly agree with the idea of not entering off of West Shore Park Road. I think that just would complicate things no end. And
125 is the center turn lane at that area too.
it does, that far up?
Yeah.
It does have a center turn lane.
Oh, yeah, it starts going up, yeah.
Right.
It comes off just as you pass the junction road.
Right.
Yeah, well, that's where it narrows as, right where you get past early. Yeah, that where it goes back down. Yeah, I know where they are. It's just that narrowing occurs as you go by Early's, which is the south side of that.
Well, it's still, yeah, the 2 lanes to 1,
Yeah, so,
but it's still 3 lanes at that point, so there is a turn lane in the middle. Just
yeah.
trying to get the lay of the land.
Yeah, no, I'm fine with it myself. I was just wondering how if they make you put in accel, decel lanes, how that would affect it.
And that acceleration, deceleration be a reaction to the 266, 125. You know what I'm saying? I think that's what he was referencing. I don't think the magnitude of this project is nowhere near what the other one is.
Right, yeah, it's I think it's about as close as you can get to the
I would agree.
middle of the area, and you know, obviously there's not enough frontage there to meet the requirements in our ordinances, so I wouldn't be averse to, I'll move that we grant the waiver.
Before you do that,
Okay.
Glenn, did you have a comment?
I had 2 comments. The first was, we have our Director of Public Works here. Oh, yeah. If he wanted to say anything, this would be a great opportunity if he wanted to say anything.
I'm mostly deaf, so I only heard half of what was being said, so.
But you you've seen this plan.
Yes.
And you know that they have worked with DOT on this entryway. And are you concerned that as this is presented, it doesn't meet some of the standards in our access management requirement, which really isn't predicated on involving state roads, it's really involving our local roads?
Exactly, and I think that's, upon the state's review, is going to attack that. Also, this area, you know, has a center turn lane, and we don't have anything like that in town, so it really wouldn't fit our criteria as I see the plan right now.
Thank you. I think we're ready for your motion.
I'll move we approve the waiver as requested.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Was there another one?
One more.
Okay.
This is regarding the landscaping, mitigating the impacts of parking lots. Section 904.15.B.10, mitigating the impacts of parking lots. Interior parking lot landscaping may be waived in truck parking areas, provided they are screened and perimeter plantings as described in items E through G below are provided. So we're requesting the interior landscaping not be required. We are providing perimeter landscaped areas. Perimeter landscaped areas are protected from encroachments by vehicles by guardrail or curbing. Parking and the storage of the trailers will be limited to the paved areas on sites. Shade trees will be provided around the perimeter of the paved area at a minimum ratio of 1 tree per 20. In portions of parking areas where screening is required, shade trees will be provided along the perimeter at a minimum of 1 tree per 50, in addition to the required screening. Off-street parking areas located on the front or side of principal buildings will be screened from the public right-of-way with evergreen shrubbery or similar. There's already a natural land that's not even on our property, so there's a landscape buffer there. Perimeter landscaping between the paved areas and abutting residences will include a hedge or other dense planting of at least 4 feet in height, consisting of at least 50% evergreen shrubbery. So that is, our request is to not provide interior parking lot landscaping, but perimeter and shade trees.
Comments? Seeing none, motion?
Before I make a motion, I'm assuming that the parking area on the front of the building where the employees are, you're gonna do some landscaping there. You're not excluding that, correct?
This area, correct. So this area here.
Go back to the rendering.
Your rendering? Yeah, hold on one second. So this is the property line. I don't know if you can see it. The property line is here. So this is already large trees, and there's a couple of large trees here that will be protected during construction. And so all of this will remain natural landscaping. And then if you see, which direction was it, this way?
I think it was on the first ones.
There we go. So this is a view of the building from the street.
Kind of off to
Driveway
the
of the
left.
street.
When you drive in, kind of more to the left.
Yeah.
So that whole area, the front of the building where the cisterns were, that'll all be landscaped as well.
I move that we grant request number 5.
Do you have a second? Any further discussion?
I'm just curious about the grading, that whole area, in that green area in the lower left corner in front of the parking lot. It shows quite a significant slope. Is that sloping down?
It's cut.
That's cut. So, yeah, so I knew you have to do a lot of alterations, so that's down. Yeah, okay, that's good. I was thinking if it was up, it would kind of defeat the screening. Okay. All right, we have a second. That was a question.
And a second. Do we have any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
And opposed?
We are complete.
Any further comments or anything? Seeing none? Thank you for coming.
Thank you very much. Appreciate your time. Do we need to
Continue
continue?
this.
Yeah, motion.
Whoa, time out.
Time and date for,
Thank you.
well, we have a lot more butter notices going.
We're not done.
Okay, there's a motion to continue this. I'm assuming you'll have everything ready for the meeting in August.
Correct.
From there.
So it's,
August 20th.
August 20th? Yeah. I'll move that we continue to 6:45 PM, August 20th, at the Town Hall, with any new plans in by the 8th, or by this, that would be
Plans anybody in?
Thursday, 2 weeks prior.
Yep.
Any new plans for review by noon on the 8th of August?
All those in favor? Okay, so for those not watching on TV or anybody here that's in a butter or would like to follow this, there will be no further notices on this. This is when it's continued to, and we'll see everyone on the 20th of August.
Great. Thank you very much. Appreciate your time.
I'm not sure, make sure they have the contact information for the Heritage Commission. I think if we all talk loudly, we can leave the AC on.
So, for the second hearing tonight, the applicant is Lifestyles Electric Incorporated. The owner is Tazback LLC at 6 Granite Road, map R3, lot 9. The applicant is proposing a commercial site plan to provide a new business space at 6 Granite Road with an expanded driveway off Granite Road. The proposed multi-unit commercial building will have 6 bays. Can you hear us in the back? Okay, just making sure, because when the AC goes on, it gets really hard. If you can't, let us know. And that means everybody here is going to have to be fairly close to their microphone and speak toward it and loudly, please. Okay, and Christian, would you please introduce yourself?
Absolutely, Madam Chair. No, that is not good. My apologies. I did not realize it was that sensitive. Good evening, Madam Chair, members of the board. Christian Smith, engineer with Beals Associates, representing the applicants on this project tonight. John and Ashley Harris are with us in the audience as well.
But before we start the actual hearing, we need to do a DRI. It's required by state law, determination of regional impact.
Okay.
And this should be something that should be part of our normal procedures. All
Adam?
land use boards have to do it.
What's the issue?
Oh, no sweat.
Okay.
I've got the easel, so we don't actually need the projector.
I think this is a no-brainer, number one, but I agree with Mr. Coffin, we have to take a motion for the record. So I would suggest that we do just that, and then going forward, on the back of the minutes agenda, have the criteria listed, so that we could, if we need to review it.
Yeah, we have that for the ZBA, but we don't have it here. It's part of the proposed procedure changes.
No, I'm just trying to help us along so that the
It would certainly
expedite.
be easier that way than I could put this on the screen.
My only comment is, how do we know if it has a regional impact if we haven't heard the proposal yet?
Well, that's how this is actually a discussion on the plan link quite a bit. We look at a plan when it's supposed to come in. When it comes in,
That's something that I generally consider when I'm looking at it for comments.
Yep.
And I probably have a different perspective than some, since I was in charge of the Regional Impact Committee at the Planning Commission for about 15 years. In none of my towns is it done with every application.
That's not been our previous.
But it's not something that we couldn't do with every application, because it can certainly be part of my comments to the board. I generally only comment on it when I think that it's a potential question.
All right.
But there is absolutely nothing wrong with doing it with every application, as long as it doesn't chew up a lot of time, because, and it doesn't have to.
I'll say, you probably saw this discussion on Plan Link, because it can come up a lot, because ZBAs weren't necessarily doing it, and they are required to. I think when we discussed it before here, we said that if you decide when you see an application that it needs a DRI, that it's probably going to have regional impact, you'll bring it to us at the first meeting of a month.
When we have, as soon as we have gotten the application.
Once you've gotten the application, you can bring it in, we can make a determination. That way we don't schedule a hearing and do all the things that before we do the notifications that are required by law. However, they said that the initial wording of the law said that you had to do it before scheduling a hearing. And the DEA has tapered back on that a bit and said that they understand that you can probably do it before a hearing.
That's, well, I won't go into why I think that happened, but there are problems with saying that you have to make the determination before the planning board gets involved, because most people don't have staff that allow that to happen.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
But having it be a discussion at the first hearing of the month because we always get the applications before that first hearing.
Right.
Absolutely doable.
I think that would be the best way to handle it.
I don't want to,
Absolutely.
let's not take up
More-
Christian's time with board business, so why don't we discuss this at our next meeting in August? And in the meantime, the regional impact, just to refresh everybody's memory, is the relative size or number of dwelling units as compared to existing stock, proximity to the borders of a neighboring community, transportation networks, anticipated emissions such as light, noise, smoke, odors, and particles, proximity to aquifers or surface waters which transcend municipal boundaries, and shared facilities such as schools and solid waste facilities. Do we have a motion?
Well, before you go there, the RPC did produce guidelines for its member towns on determining developments to regional impact and how to make the call. And it's especially useful when you have ones that, for example, like the project over off of Depot Road or whatever, where they're abutted East Kingston, and especially where you have housing development. They do make a comment in there that, and this is the only reason I bring this up, is that, quote, if a project is proposed on land that directly abuts a municipal boundary, this should result in an automatic regional impact determination. However, having said that, they say the proposal should incorporate the characteristics in 1 through 4, which is what you're talking about. Proximity to a municipal border does not mean the proposal would necessarily also generate regional impacts. So I just wanted to throw that in because
That's number 2 on the list, but we're also in the middle of.
We haven't started the hearing, but the point of this is, when we're talking about DRIs, we do have to make the determination. And it protects the applicant too, because if somebody objects, now, I don't know, have you talked to Plastow at all about this?
Well, right now, this is this board business or is this the applicant business?
Well, no, I'm asking about this application, whether you've discussed this.
Close to the line.
It's on the municipal boundary, and it's surrounded by residential properties.
Correct.
Residential zone in Plastow.
Having done this for very many years.
Right. I don't think it does, but
There's a difference between a project of regional impact and a project being on a municipal boundary.
exactly. That's why they say that it doesn't necessarily.
They're not coterminous, so to speak.
Right.
They don't speak to the same issues. And in this instance, there are some abutters who are actually in Plastow. So
Yeah.
they get notified as being part of the notification for the public hearing.
Right.
But the municipality, I don't believe in this case, did. Did you notice Plastow?
They wouldn't, the state of New Hampshire would have, because they own the parcel across the street. They should be on the abutter list. And then there's several residences.
But there are Plastow property owners that
Right.
are abutters.
Right.
On the property, down Plastow, they get notified.
Okay, that's all, that's perfect, because that's one of the things they say. As long as they say that you should be talking with other, the other planning boards. So, yeah, let's go through those 4 criteria.
So we went through I just mentioned the 6 criteria.
Yeah.
So we have a motion.
Yeah, I'll move that due to the size of the project and the fact that Plastow has been notified, that I don't think it is a project that qualifies under regional impact.
Do we have a second? Okay. Any further discussion?
Yeah,
Yes.
so I have a problem with that, because I don't think if we're taking your point that it doesn't have any impact, but he feels that it is, and based on what he says, it could impact the municipality in Plastow, why aren't they being notified?
They were
Or
notified.
why aren't they in this meeting, or why aren't we basically bringing them into this meeting?
They were notified.
Okay.
They didn't feel it was significant.
Okay.
Mike?
Right.
Okay. But should we be, I mean, shouldn't we get their sign off then? Because if they're gonna be part of the regional impact, shouldn't we get some sort of, hey, we notified you,
we're
you're not
actually-
being impacted, proceed with your meeting?
I believe that the board was just about to say they didn't feel that this did.
If it did have, or if we had doubts, we'd have to declare it. And then they would get formal notification, they would get the plans sent to them, and the RPC would get notified, and we'd have to reschedule the hearing.
But how does that protect us as board members being in the planning board? That's what I'm concerned about, this whole regional impact thing.
Being part of regional impact
Yeah.
simply gives them a butter status.
Yeah,
All it does is give them a butter status. So they have a butter status by being notified. And then if they choose to come, they can. If they don't, but regional impact simply gives them, the town of Plastow, a butter status.
okay, but is it possible that, okay, we proceed with this meeting, and they determine that, hey, they were improperly noticed, or they didn't really get notification, they could actually sue one of us as a board member?
No, they cannot sue one of you as a board.
If the board votes this way, now, I don't know, to get to the point here, the state law doesn't determine what doubt, what uncertainty means. If it means one person, or if it means, it could mean that if we don't vote unanimously, that then some doubt exists about whether this project has regional impact. And then we would presumably have to.
But it's a board, so if the board votes in a majority, one way or the other, that's the holding of the board. So it doesn't,
Right.
so that doesn't matter, but in the end run, what regional impact does is grant you a butter status. And the town of Plastow has been given a butter status by virtue of the project going forward. They were noticed, they were given the same notification as an abutter as any of the other abutters to this application. So granting them a regional impact notification doesn't increase their standing. They already are abutters.
Okay, so what you're saying is, in the process of notifying Plastow, we've already made the determination that there is no regional impact.
No.
I didn't make, no, I know.
So can we make the
That's what the board was just doing.
okay, but I mean, there's gotta be a better way than just bringing it up every time we have a meeting, is just have a regional impact. Somebody's
No,
gotta
that's
make
what
somebody's
the-
gotta make a decision that,
The state law says that any time an application comes before a planning board, if there is the potential for regional impact,
yep,
then the board should make a determination that there's regional impact.
all right. But what Peter's saying, it should be on every applicant that we discuss.
Yes,
That's what
and
he just said.
that's what how the RSA 3656 is worded. It requires all land use boards to determine if an application has regional impact.
Okay.
And it has to be the board, it can't be Glenn. He's the one who's going to advise us on that. And quite frankly, if he thought it had an impact, he would probably schedule us to have a hearing on that on the first Tuesday of the week, as soon as.
Of each month.
Of each month. Because that way we could make the determination and get the proper notifications out.
That was the procedure that we had set up
Yeah, we had.
previously.
Okay, so all I'm asking for is somebody to say, okay, we're gonna go through this regional impact vote, so that I know what's coming up, so that I can do the research and say, okay, yeah, has everybody in Plastow been noticed? Has everybody, so that I can do my job as a board member, say, okay, yes, this, I feel good about voting on this regional impact.
What we're going to do
Yep.
is the first Tuesday of each month,
Yep,
because it follows our deadline period for
Yep.
making application. If there is any application that I think is regional impact, I'm going
That's
to
what I'm
bring it-
asking for right
I'm going
there.
to bring it to the board's attention.
And when Plasto was noticed, they were not only noticed, but they were also given a copy of the plan.
No, that's good. I just like to be prepared to do a little bit of homework.
And quite frankly, that relieved all my concerns. The notification of Plastow took out any doubt about voting that.
Whether they knew about it.
That we don't have to make a regional impact determination. And I think that was a great move, so.
So, we have a motion, we have a second. Do we have any further discussion or question? Seeing none, all those in favor of declaring that this does not have regional impact, please say aye. Or
Okay,
unanimous.
good.
Okay. Sorry, Christian.
That's not a problem. I think I got as far as introductions. So yes, we are looking at a potential site development at 6 Granite Road, as you all know. And the proposal is there's an existing rather dilapidated home on the property as it sits. That will be raised, and then the existing driveway is approximately right here. A portion of the proposed driveway actually covers that. But what we're proposing is a 24-foot access drive in a commercial building, which will be the new home of Lifestyle Electric, and potentially other businesses in there. There are 6 total bays. And Ashley and John, please, if I misstate something, do not hesitate to come up here and slap me behind the head. And it's my understanding that Lifestyle Electric will actually occupy probably 2 of the bays initially. That would mean there could be 4 others. The intention of these, as you can kind of see from the architectural elevations that were provided, these are going to be contractor-type bays, things of that nature. They all have overhead doors in each one of those. So the building is 168 feet by 70. We provide 18 parking stalls on the ground level in the parking lot. There are 2 available stalls in each of the bays through those overhead doors, which I understand, and Dennis will go through his memo. Those were not listed in the parking calculations, that's my bad. But according to Dennis's calculations, and I think we tripped up a little bit and understood it was 1 per 1,000 square feet. Dennis has unearthed that it's actually 2. I think we are going to end up 6 parking stalls shy of the ordinance. That's one thing I'd like to talk to the board about as we go forward is, would you entertain a waiver to that stipulation? Because when we approached the applicants with this design, they felt that there was more than adequate parking here, considering what the use is actually going to be. So that's a discussion for another point. But stormwater is handled through an infiltration drip edge. It's basically just a stone trench. And secondarily, a pond on this side of the parking lot, which would be the southeast, which does have an overflow here, and then directs water towards the woods or the little bit of forest there and into the wetland. You can see the only wetland on the project is this particular area here, which is no doubt a backup from that existing culvert underneath Granite Road. Septic system has been approved by NHDES, and the proposed well is in the back of the property, serving all of the bays, and we do have a dumpster at that location. This should be, this is such a short entry, I would assume if they needed to get a fire vehicle in here, and bear in mind, it's my understanding this is going to be a corrugated metal type building, so it's not a high fire hazard situation. But, the fire trucks would simply pull in and back out. I have not seen any memos from the department heads. I'm certain you'll share that with me if they're available. But that is by and large the project. The only area of trees that are likely to be cut or need to be cut are here. There are areas that are shown with the tree line, which are basically just overgrown shrubs and brush from lack of maintenance of what I'm assuming was former lawn area. And this property was, a number of years ago, mined for sand and gravel and rock. But I think with that, Madam Chair, I believe I've covered everything I wanted to go through, and I'll entertain comments from the board, or we can hear from Dennis or Glenn, however you see fit.
We're going to hear from Dennis and Glenn first, and we're going to start this time with Glenn, because
Just to
you have
switch
be
it up.
fair.
Well, good.
Do you have a memo, Glenn?
I do.
Could you share?
Did you
a
not
copy
get
with-
that?
I did not get one. I got Dennis's yesterday. Thank you.
If I do that, I can't give it, I can't read it.
Oh, no, well, yeah,
I'll
give it to-
read
give it to
and
me afterwards.
I'll read
How's
it and
that?
give it to you. All right, so I have that, this is the first public hearing for this proposal in which the applicant plans the construction of a 6-bay, multi-unit commercial space, and is proposing a commercial site plan to provide new business space at 6 Granite Road with an expanded driveway off Granite Road. The proposed multi-unit commercial building will have 6 bays. The board should consider invoking jurisdiction on the plan to begin the 65-day clock for a decision, but I say this hesitantly because I have a list of deficiencies with the plan that may support deferring a vote to invoke jurisdiction. The following are my comments upon reviewing a plan entitled Commercial Site Plan 6 Granite Road for Tax Map R3 Lot 9, prepared by Lavelle Associates and Beals Associates and dated May 2024. Plan Sheet 1, existing conditions, indicates in Note 3 that the site is within the single-family residential district, which is incorrect. The site is in the C3 commercial zone, and the note needs to be corrected. The final plan will need to list the state septic system approval number. The number of employees should be added as a note on the plan. Currently, the parking calculations seem to indicate the number of proposed employees, but a note will make it clearer. The site plan indicates that snow will be plowed into the stormwater infiltration pond, and I ask if this is best management practice. The location of entrances should be shown on the building footprint. The well is shown in the plan, but its attendant protective radius is 75 feet, where 100 is the required. The plan should better detail the 4K reserve area for the proposed septic. It seems that some of this area is located beneath the proposed structure, and this is not permitted. In addition, the test pits dug for the system need to fall within the 4K area. If a sign is anticipated for the building, for the business, its location should be detailed on the plan. The site plan at the end of the process that is to be recorded must have the surveyed bearings, or the registry will reject it. The bearings show on the existing condition sheet, but not on any of the site plan sheets. There are lighting details provided on the plan set, but the number of fixtures proposed are not shown on the building. A table on the sheet indicates there will be 9, but the site plan only shows the location of 2. Granite Road is a state of New Hampshire maintained roadway, so an NHDOT driveway permit is required for this proposal. Now, I fully believed that when I wrote this, and now I'm not really sure. I've spoke with Division 6. I wasn't able to speak to an assistant district engineer, and was promised that one would call me back, so I hope to hear from them. They are certain that it's a Class 5 road, not a state road. We aren't as certain at the local level, so that's something that needs to be figured out. So I guess with respect to number 11, Christian?
Yes.
We need to figure that out, because if you go DOT for a permit on what they consider a state road, they're going to
Yeah, I don't think that they do consider this a state road. I know my clients have been in direct contact with District 6, and they had not contemplated issuing a driveway permit for that.
and with my brief discussion with the person who was in the office who was not a district engineer, their listing is that Granite Road is a town road.
Right.
So
that is true on their map too, which is usually correct. I suppose there could be, exceptions to that, but.
Yes. So there's an asterisk next to number 11.
Ask Phil.
What's that?
Yeah, we will.
because otherwise, he has lots of stuff he could be doing. Our findings can be provided for the site, and plan notes on sheet 2, parking and landscape plan, use a formula for industrial use of 1 parking space per 1,000 square feet of building plus 1 space per employee. But the town requires 2 spaces per 1,000 square feet of building space. And this means 30 spaces are required, but only 18 are provided. And those are my comments. And Christian? Oh, that was such a fail.
Yeah, let me get that.
Thank you, Christian.
Thank you.
Dennis?
Okay, so my comments were, I did get a copy of the plan set and offer the following comments for the board to consider. Number 1, the existing conditions plan shows a proposed NHDOT drainage easement in the area proposed for the proposed sanitary system. So it seems like that might be a conflict or maybe an error in drafting. Number 2, the existing conditions plan notes the septic setback as typical, but there is no line or dimension to define it. Also, define the dimensions for the building setback line as well. Number 3, sheet 2, note 7 refers to the town of Barrington, not to Kingston. Number 4, sheet 2, show where existing natural vegetation landscaping is to remain for a landscaping buffer. Number 5, sheet 2, parking, note size is 9 by 19. The plan view shows 9 by 18, and I think that's what the town requires too.
Yeah, 9 by 18 is correct, that's been fixed.
So just a drafting thing. Number 6, sheet 2, article 904, 14B1, parking required 2 spaces per 1,000. We've talked about that. The septic plan shows 12 employees, 1 space each, so the design should have a total of 36. Number 7, sheet 2 must comply with the setback requirements from C3 zone. I would recommend the numbers for each unit and recommend numbers for each unit and parking spaces to easily designate which spaces go per unit. Number 9, detail sheet 5 for the infiltration basin. Add information, additional information must be provided on the detail sheet for material specifications at the bottom and below the basin. Should follow the design requirements of the NH Stormwater Manual. Number 10, the infiltration trench. Past excavation on this site involved drilling and blasting in bedrock, lowering the grade by greater than 10 feet in some areas. This plan must verify the depth of seasonal water table and bedrock. I also recommend test pits be required at both ends of the proposed infiltration trench and both ends of the infiltration basin. Test pit data must be provided on the plan with the name of the person who logged with their stamp on the plans, and soil testing should be witnessed by a town agent. In addition, the soil report by Mr. Hurley notes in that the soil type ledge is found, and that soil type ledge is found between 20 and 40 inches of the surface, and estimated seasonal water table at 15 inches. The infiltration trench is designed to be 48 inches below grade. Mr. Hurley found water table in test pit 2 to be 24 inches below grade at an elevation of 124, or at the original grade 124, or at 122. Ledge is found within 48 inches or at 120. The bottom of the infiltration trench is designed to be at 122.8. Follow the design requirements for the New Hampshire stormwater. The basin berm elevation must be defined on the plans. Number 12, provide soil test location on the septic plan. I didn't realize that the septic plan was approved, but perhaps you can provide a final approved septic plan. That's test pits on there.
Yep, not a problem.
13, Article 90456G6, provide north arrow in each plan sheet. 14, 9045G7, site plan requires owner of record and abutters. Note needs to be added stating which sheets will be recorded and the others remaining on file at the town. 15, Article 9045G8, provide a benchmark elevation. 16, 9045G12, provide planning board signature block. 17, Article 9045G16, snow storage area is shown, but it should not be in the infiltration basin where sand and silt could impact the infiltration function. Number 18, 945G33, assign location and note that it must comply with Article 303. 19, Article 9045J, comply with fire department requirements. 20, Article 90411 and 12, bonds for inspection and performance bonds required. 21, Article 90816.3.21 and 90816.6, stormwater management inspection and maintenance document must be recorded in the registry of deeds. So those are my comments. Most of it is drafting and a little bit of design stuff, but stuff I'm sure Christian can handle.
Yep, and we do intend to get Luke Hurley back out on the site and do the additional test pit locations suggested by Dennis. That's not a problem. Again, I mentioned the calculation specific to the parking. You know, so I just would straw poll the board. Would you consider, I mean, we have basically 30, not basically, we have 30 stalls available. 36 are required by the calculation. Is that something the board would entertain? If I were to submit a waiver to that requirement.
What if we required of the other contractor base in town? Just checking.
I'm sorry, how much, Glenn?
Okay, so before we move to that, we did have comments from two other places. The first was the fire department, comply with all NFPA codes and standards, comply with town of Kingston ordinances and regulations, monitored NFPA 72 fire alarm system per fire department regulation, proper fire separation between units, Knox box for unit door access. And then the selectmen, the select board came with the following comments. There were 7. Parking calculations based on industrial, but uses commercial, does that make a difference? Status of Granite Road, intended tenants and uses. Will these be condos?
I don't believe so. Do you intend to condominiumize these, or they'll be rentals? Yeah.
If you do decide to make them condos, then the town has to review the condo docs. Provide light fixture cut sheets and note on plan that lighting will conform to Kingston's lighting ordinances. Uses must comply with secret permitted uses. So there's certain uses that are, excuse me, there are certain uses that are permitted in commercial zone 3. We just have to comply, each unit must comply with those uses. And no sign indicated, will there be one? So that's, again, following through
Business
on
sign?
that.
Will you guys be putting up a business sign?
Okay, you got it.
I think ideally we'd like to have a sign above each entry door for, you know, each individual tenant, if that's something you'd entertain.
Okay.
So there wouldn't be anything freestanding?
No freestanding sign.
So, parking. What's your pleasure, people, on parking?
Is there any way that we can get the extra 6 spots, or does that like put a kibosh on your project?
I mean, we could put them in there. I just, you know, think it's a waste of pavement, but they could be designed in here.
Where are our parking regs again? Sorry, where are our parking regs again?
904 914, I think, are the
Okay, here we go.
numbers.
Off-street. Here it is. So what did we classify the uses as? It's not retail, it's,
Commercial. Contractor based.
right, so industrial, well, multi-use facility, yeah. That's the problem. We, just like the other one, it doesn't fit into a nice little niche.
I actually used industrial.
Yeah, that was what I was thinking, industrial manufacturing.
I think we did as well, yeah.
I used industrial, so that was 1,000 plus conservation.
Yeah. Because these aren't retail, they're not retail, so you don't have customers coming in and going. It's just people working.
Contractor, it's closer to industrial.
Yeah, yeah. 2 per 1,000 square foot gross area, so. And what does it say about adapting it? We have a fairly lengthy section that talks about alternative parking, which is going to come up more in the future for residential. Alternative parking standards. Planning board will make a determination that the relief does not cause detriment to the surrounding neighborhood and/or roadway system. Okay, that's municipal parking facility. Well, I don't think we got that.
So we need 2 spaces per 1,000 feet, so that's 22 spaces.
And then 1 space for each employee.
Yeah.
We don't know how many employees there'll be.
This-
The assumption is 12,
the-
and that's what the septic was
The septic
designed on.
system predicated 12.
So that's about 36. Okay. And we have 18?
18 provided.
Okay, so if you're going to speak, you have to give us your name.
Okay, I'm John
and where you
Harris.
live.
John Harris, live at 100 Sweet Hill Road in Plastow.
Get that, Robin? Just, you need, because of our sound system, you need to say that one more time, please.
John Harris. I live in Plastow, New Hampshire, 100 Sweet Hill Road.
Sweet Hill.
Thank you, John.
Yeah, so like the 2 bays that I'm gonna be taking, the guys have their own vans. So they'll just be coming in and out. They won't be, you know, having cars on site.
Yeah, and as I mentioned, Madam Chair, there are 2 available stalls in each of the bays as well.
Oh, okay.
Which did not get, I understand, did not get added to the calculations. I will correct that.
Okay, so it's 2 stalls in every bay.
Yeah, so we're at a total of 30. And I think we need, according to Dennis's calculations, 36.
36.
So you're 30 outside, theoretically 12 inside.
18 outside, 12 inside for a total of 30. Yep.
So when the parking regulations were designed, you can think back when, why were they set that way, the way they were set?
It was an amalgamation of a ton of different parking regulations. So
Okay, so we took parking regulations from all these other communities and.
we did,
Did something similar,
yeah.
so there wasn't anything really.
And it isn't predicated upon the use of a contractor bay. It's predicated upon an industrial facility, and its
And the
employees.
size of the building.
Right, and the size of the building. I was unaware of the 2 spaces in each unit. So my initial take was, it seemed to be half of what is necessary, when in fact, what we're being told is it's really 4/5 of what is required is being provided. That's a big difference.
Well, according to our instruction, we have a lot of leeway. It's the land banked parking, which is designed to prevent over paving where you know you're not going to need it, and you can bank some land elsewhere that if the parking demand does need it, you can only put in 40% of the parking based on what you think you're going to need, and then the rest of the land can be converted in lesser amounts to parking. We have that one that says deviation from the normal standard should only be granted upon submission of calculated parking demand for combined land use. This is what this is combined land use, based on Transportation Engineers Urban Land Institute, so forth and so on. A formal parking demand study may be waived by the planning board for small developments with a land use mix, and the impact is expected to be minimal. So we do have a variety of methods we can employ to keep the applicant from having to build more parking spaces than he thinks he's going to need, but still allow the expansion later on. And I guess we're looking for recommendations.
I personally have no problem with 80% coverage. I mean, 30 versus 36. It's not, if it were a retail place, it'd be something different. I think I'd see a real need for more, but I don't see it as a heavily trafficked area by the general public.
Yeah, I think that paragraph that I read about the deviation can be made without a formal it's about parking study in small developments, maybe our applicable paragraph. I don't know, Glenn, you've dealt with these before. But
I mean, these are site plan regulations. They're
all waiverable, yeah.
They're very flexible, and they're meant to be guidelines. I think the reason, like the most recent example of why it really wasn't an issue was because it was right next to a large parking lot that allowed them to use those spaces as well as the ones directly in front of their development. I'm talking about the one down at the golf course.
Yeah, that's true.
They had a lot of flexibility because they had a lot of already existing parking.
Yes, along these lines too is that if you're going to limit the number of parking spaces, perhaps these 18 might be totally used at a specific time. I would have a concern about delivery vehicles, the UPS or any other type of delivery vehicle. How do they get turned around? If they go in there to deliver something to the last bay, how do they get turned around? Or do they have to back all the way out into the street? So, Christian, maybe that's something you could take a look at too, and provide some sort of a turnaround for any of those type of vehicles that would come in, because that could be hazardous for people backing out, especially during bad weather and snow and whatnot. So something to take a look at, especially if all of these spaces are going to be utilized and being full, there's no room for turnaround.
Yep, we can take a look at that. And again, I don't think the owners, or the applicants, I should say, anticipate that these would likely ever be full. I think they think that this is well above and beyond what they'll ever need. Because particularly in bad weather, if somebody's coming in that is renting one of these, they're going to drive into their bay and not get out. So, but I can certainly take a peek at it if we can.
Can I ask two things?
Yeah.
Well, really only one thing. The board should, we're doing a lot of talking and we haven't made any decision on jurisdiction.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So I would love for the board to talk a little bit about jurisdiction.
Yeah, I
wise
think you had some notes that maybe we should go on to some of Dennis's comments
How does everyone feel about accepting jurisdiction?
I guess I would ask Dennis
Well, I did see on,
and Glenn on both of them on that one, because Dennis, you had the comments about the new grade and whether you could actually infiltrate water into the lead 10 feet down.
Well, I think that one of the things you talk about, accepting jurisdiction in rushing to do that, is to address waivers. If you don't need to address waivers tonight, then there may not be a rush to accept jurisdiction, since there are a number of comments that need to be addressed, which could be taken up easily between now and the next meeting, and then follow through with the jurisdiction at the next meeting, and follow up with any waivers that might come about.
Yeah, I'm concerned about the Dennis's comments about how, you know, putting test pits in the end and having this, because there's been a lot of excavation on that site and blasting, and it's not just like a farm where, you know, water's going to go into the ground. This is judging from his discussion of the water tables and the grade levels. This could require some time in determining whether it, you know, septic system can work, or, you know, and your comment about the septic system being underneath the parking lot.
My opinion really hasn't changed. I think that this plan is a little bit premature for invoking jurisdiction.
Okay.
in particular with the water takeaway things that are huge. So, do we need to take a vote not to take jurisdiction, or just
not vote?
decide not to?
Just decide not to.
Yeah.
Okay. So before we finish discussing this, though, I think we really do need to talk about the status of the road a little bit more. Phil, would you mind joining us?
Oh, look, Hansom's still here.
I know Phil's gathered some more information.
Do you know
Especially
Phil?
as this project's affected by the
Phil
widening
Coombs.
issue.
It's not.
Not this property, but the widening project has been, that's why the New Hampshire DOT easement on there may not be effective. Go ahead.
So this is not in our road inventory, Granite Road, and having seen previous documentation, I was led to believe that this was a state road. As Glenn stated, they've been in contact with District 6. They're claiming it is a Class 5 town road. So we don't really have an answer for that yet. We've found some more documentation. Basically, when they did the 125 expansion, I believe it was initiated by the Select Board in 1977, trying to seek out what the status of these roads were. And the response was kind of a, well, I'm retiring, so do this, and walk out the door. The roads that it pertains to, basically, one of them we have assumed maintenance of via our action. So we have been maintaining this road, plowing this road, and there are residents that live on there. Two other ones, to include Granite Road, we have not been maintaining. If you take one look at Granite Road, you can see that we have not maintained that road. Nobody has in a long time. We have done plowing in major storms to help residents out, but there are only 2 residents on that road. So there is no real traffic, and obviously this is the time that first time that this has come up. Because of that, there is no one really bringing this to our attention. So this has brought this to the forefront. How this pertains to the planning board, I guess the main thing would be the driveway width would not be within our regulations, but beyond that, we need to determine whether we can approve this or not based on who actually owns the road, and then what impact this will have on that road, because obviously I wasn't planning on doing anything to improve the status of this road, but if we're going to increase the traffic this much with potentially 6 units in there, that's going to have a need for that to be attended to.
So just two things. I can remember when Kingston Road in Plastow turned into Granite Road in Kingston. And then they put the new intersection in, the Kingston Road in. So Granite Road was actually part of Kingston Road, Granite Road, and out to 125. And at that point, somebody must have been maintaining it because there was no other access to 125 from this. And that access was put in since I've been driving.
Since I've been driving.
Yeah, coming from Plastow, yeah, you come down Kingston Road, and then it would turn into Granite Road, and then Granite Road onto 125. There was no intersection just beyond the storage facility at that time. So it was a continuous road at that time. Because I can remember driving on it, and I can remember coming down Kingston Road and then hitting Granite Road and having issues. So that's one thing we need to remember. The other thing we need to think about is whatever we do with this road, we need to think about the recent decisions we've made on other roads in town and make certain that back road, et cetera, that if we just allow a driveway in or sort of something like that, is that going to create a precedent to allow something to come back? I think we need to think about previous decisions on that as well as we begin this discussion to make certain that
Well, definitely, if it's determined that it was abandoned as a class 5 or as a state road, and it really status is class 6, then it's a significant issue, yeah.
Correct.
Yeah.
I just want to add Ashley Harris. I thought there were some plans put forth by DOT somewhere in the neighborhood of 2020 to improve that intersection. And it's my understanding that they're going to eliminate that intersection and go back to Kingston Road, continuing on to Granite Road and then dumping out onto 125 there. And it's my understanding that when they do that work, based on a meeting that we had with DOT, that they were going to repave the road at that time.
Well, if we looked at the plans online, we didn't talk to DOT, and I don't know if, Glenn, you got this information or not, but they were going to make 125 4 lanes with a median strip down the middle as it is in Plastow.
Mm-hmm.
And at that point in time, Kingston Road was going to turn into Granite Road, it was going to come around to another Diamond Oak, and at Diamond Oak it was going to intersect, go a little bit further than Diamond Oak and intersect directly across from Roadstone. So it would be, and they'd have lights there, so it would be better ins and out for all the heavy vehicles coming out of the industrial complex. However, those plans have changed.
Yeah.
And on the latest set of plans that we looked at, because they've made 125 a 3-lane road with a turn lane in the middle. And on the latest plans, there's nothing that indicates anything happening to Granite Road or any further intersection down. It just maintains the current intersection. Am I correct on that?
I believe you are.
So it appears that they, probably for cost reasons and the fact that they were just going to 3 lanes instead of 4, they have totally abandoned that portion of the plan.
So the plans that we were presented with were not in regard to the widening. It was a drainage project. They're actually trying to obtain an easement on our property. And they want to basically clear cut the trees directly across from this property and put drainage all there. And this meeting was just within the last potentially 30 to 60 days.
Oh, good.
I do have those plans, if you guys don't have them, that I can send. Okay. And that correlates with Dennis's comment about the septic interfering with the drainage easement that they've approached us to obtain.
I think that would be something for us to really talk about at the next meeting. If you can give us that information, that would be great.
Sure.
Because that might help solve a lot of this situation. Do you think, Phil?
Yeah, I mean, it has been a fluid plan. I mean, there are things that were in the 2020 plan or the 2019 plan that are not reflected in the current plan, so, but in that earlier plan, they did kind of assert that they owned that property. So, it would be great to see the current one, and then Glenn and I can have further conversations with District 6 and see where we're at.
And your name was Ashley?
Yes.
And your last name?
Maiden name Greer, married name Harris. Yes.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
We have to get everything for the record.
Yep.
That makes sense.
Okay. So where do we want to go from here?
Oh, boy, there's some big, big roadblocks, so to speak, right? But we,
Continue the hearing? Yeah.
yeah, I'm trying to think if there's anything we can just, I'm just trying to think if there's anything we can discuss now, but I think between Dennis's and Glenn's comments, they've got a lot of homework.
Madam Chair, can I just ask a quick question? Would I be able to get copies of the select board and the fire comments from Robin?
I'm sorry you did not. We
Oh,
try
not
to do
an
that.
issue. Yeah, no.
We apologize. We do try to do
Let's
that.
get off my nose. I just-
Dennis?
So do the test pits have to be witnessed by a town agent, and typically right now the building inspector does for septic plans? So if they're redoing test pits, do they have to have it witnessed by a town agent or not?
That's what it says in the regulations, right?
Yeah, but this isn't for septic systems, this is for the drainage. So typically, we just have a soil scientist do it, and
What's your recommendation? Just have the soil scientist handle it?
I don't have a problem with soil scientists handling it because they're licensed to do that and they know more about soils than a lot of people that do inspections.
yeah.
Correct?
Yeah, I will say very, Dennis, that I am a licensed septic designer and a professional engineer, and I'm not gonna argue with a soil scientist when we get in a hole. Plain and simple.
Well, then, I think that will work. Okay, do we have a motion to continue? We have a motion to continue. Do we have a second?
Phil, thank
It's
you
the
for staying
20th.
so late.
Plans by the 8th. Okay. Any further comment or discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Right.
Ellie? That's unanimous.
Thank you very much. for
Thank
your
you.
time, folks. Do you know off the top of your head, Rob, the date of the next year?
It's 20th.
It's the 20th of August.
August 1st.
Yeah, it was August 20th.
Plans due by the 8th.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you for coming. Okay, moving on to board business. Do we have a motion to accept the June 4th minutes? Do we have a second?
Yeah, I'll second the June 4th.
Any errors or omissions? Seeing
Aye.
opposed? Ben? Okay, making sure. Okay, yes, unanimous. Okay, acceptance of the June 18th minutes. Any errors or omissions that weren't put in the final draft?
No, there was a
Okay.
couple of typos, but they didn't
They were on the final
affect it.
draft, I think.
There was one comment that was made that I highlighted that was confusing, and I went and listened to the thing, and it's exactly what he said. He changed what he's reading in mid-sentence.
Okay. All those in favor? Okay. One abstention. Okay, so we have some letters here for us to go through. Oops. Okay. The first is from Jennifer Smith regarding a certificate of occupancy to open a beauty studio, offering natural nails and skincare at 34 Church Street, Unit 4. To whom it may concern, I'm opening a beauty studio offering natural nails and skincare. I plan to open in 2 weeks on July 30th, 2024. I don't have any employees and only see one client at a time. The name of my business is Just Calm Down Skin and Nail Studio. And I will be located at 34 Church Street, Unit 4, Kingston. My phone number, I need a certificate of occupancy for the New Hampshire Board of Cosmetology. I won't be making any alterations to the space. Her hours are Tuesday to Thursday, 11 to 5, Friday, 11 to 6, Saturday, 11 to 3. Any further action taken?
Which one is number 4? Is that the one next to the barber?
Is it it's not the thrift shop, is it? I mean, because they're going out of business. Yeah, I know, that's too big for a nail salon.
Yes, that's the one. That's the one.
That's probably, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So, we need a consensus or a vote?
A vote would be
A
better.
vote. Can I have a motion to approve the
Well, we don't.
We can't grant it.
We don't grant the occupancy permits, but we can certainly recommend that no further action is required by
Yeah.
this board.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
Motion, second?
Yeah.
Sure.
All those in favor?
Right.
Done. Okay. The next one is Roadstone. We represent Benevento Bituminous Products, which has for many years operated an asphalt plant at 1 Roadstone Drive in Kingston's Industrial District. Benevento would like to install a tent cover structure over an existing impervious storage area. It would be similar to the attached picture. It would be 65 feet by 45 feet, or approximately 2,925 plus or minus square feet, and located over a pre-existing 2,785 plus or minus square foot impervious surface. Although this is an increase of approximately 140 plus or minus square feet, Benevento intends to also remove an existing 515 plus or minus square foot concrete pad, which will result in an overall decrease of approximately 375 plus or minus square feet of impervious area. Please see attached plan.
I met with the representatives of last Thursday, and my intent when I first saw this was to ask the board if we could do this as an expedited site review. Come to find out, they've already done 2 expedited site reviews. So we can't do an expedited site review. So they're going to have to come in for a site review on this. So there's really not a lot of reason to spend time discussing this any further.
So they proposed to do this twice before and never did it?
No. We allow you to do 2 expedited site reviews.
Oh, I see, in
And they've
general.
already done 2.
Okay, for the property.
Correct.
So now they
So
have to
this
go
one
back
has
to the real
this
one.
one has to be a standard site review.
Okay. Do we need a motion?
So, yeah, the motion could just be the planning board to direct me to relay that information.
Second.
Any further
That was like
discussion? All those in favor?
magic.
Samantha Snow would like to release her escrow. That's the,
I made up this form.
Oh, thank you.
So we can just sign it now.
oh, we have a form. She had 5,000 in the escrow. Did she use any of it?
Yeah. So
And all the bills are in?
It'll be minus any expenses towards it.
Okay. So the motion would be to approve for the return of the balance of her escrow deposit, minus any expenses that have been paid.
Yeah, we have determined all the conditions or have been met or.
We did when she came in last week.
Came in
or the
last
week-
time,
last
it was
month.
the modified driveway, but, so.
She actually received her occupancy permit from building department.
From who?
The building department.
The building department. So she has her occupancy permit.
Okay, so good, so we're not gonna have that come back in the meeting. Well, I'll move that we release the, I don't know if we need movement.
Yeah.
I'll move that we release the remaining
Escrow.
portion of the escrow.
Second? All those in favor? Okay. Diamond Oaks? Oh, haven't got that yet.
It's not usually a motion as well.
Oh, no.
Usually it's just a group.
So we have a bill for $225 from Civil Construction Management for the services he provided for the Bentgrass Circle review, for their drainage review. We want to agree that's okay to pay? Okay. Okay, next one is escrow release for Berkshire Dominion Saddle Up for their existing site plan review application.
Have we gotten that?
That's from years ago.
That's our old one.
That's an old one. Well, he's gonna have to do
a new one.
Maybe not.
I say we don't release it yet. Can we do that? We can't really do that. It's a different application. No, I would love to go down that road with you, Ellie, but we can't. This is a finished application. They're asking for their bond back. We have to release that bond.
Did he ever
What was this
do
for?
all the
Was it the
requirements
parking
of
lot?
floating dock?
Yeah. Yes, he did.
everything?
Yeah. Well, I really have the other thing coming up that I need to talk about, so.
Okay, so.
But they're different.
Are we all set? We need a motion to release the escrow? We have a motion, we have a second. All those in favor? Okay.
I like your mind, but.
Well, we really don't need it. Okay, the next item, can I, let me paint a scenario here. Our friends at Saddle Up need to come before us because they want to expand their hours of operation to include breakfast. And it doesn't change any use of the building. It doesn't require any modifications or upgrades or additional parking because it's earlier in the day as opposed to opening at 11. They did come in today and put in the application, paid the fees, got the abutters notices, and they would like to have it at our August 4th meeting because they've already been promoting that they're opening for breakfast soon. And how diplomatic is that?
Well, but our letter here says change hours of operation, Sunday to Wednesday from 6 a.m. to 12 midnight, and Thursday to Saturday from 6 a.m. to 1 a.m.
Right, because those are their existing hours. But what
Right.
Are they currently open till midnight and 1 a.m.?
Yes, really,
Yes.
what they're,
I didn't know that.
what is changing is from
Huh?
6 to
They
11.
did it without
Need to go,
changing
right.
it, yeah.
I'm in bed long before that. Okay.
So what their
See what
change
happens
will
when
be.
you get home,
It's
will
going
be the
early in the
difference
morning.
Between their morning hours to where they're already allowed.
So they're only sleeping between midnight or 1 a.m. and 6. All right.
But in order for this to happen, he has to come in and do a noticed hearing so
Yep.
that we can talk with him about this change. I agree that it isn't, from the site plan side of things, a big thing, but it's a substantive change.
Yeah.
And the butters have a right to know that they can expect to see people driving in there at 6 in the morning now.
Yep.
And we need to hear their feedback on that. So that's all well and good. From my perspective, the first time he can do that is the September public hearing. And
the request that Ellie is saying is there a way that they, because it's such a minor change, and we have time to do the notification to abutters, can it happen in August?
And I guess I'm feeling empathy for Mr. Saddle Up. Now, he's given us a lot of gray hairs, there's no question. And unfortunately, he's got a wonderful personality that there isn't a rule that he hasn't liked to break. But I give him credit for making it in today and getting in the application and paying the fees and at least making a real attempt to actually put in the application before he's opened the doors for breakfast.
Rewarding good behavior.
That's exactly correct.
First,
I just, we don't always over support our community businesses, but this guy got the place in shape finally. It might have taken 3 years, don't get me wrong. I mean, this has been an ongoing
It did take a
project.
long time. It
did
took more
take-
than 3 years.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
4 boys.
Oh, probably closer to 6, I think.
Oh, my God. But we do have to have the hearing. I think it's important for the neighbors to step in on this, but.
And he wants to come to the August 6th meeting, not the 20th. Huh?
Yeah, but
That's
it's-
our business
it's the
meeting
first
night, not a
Tuesday.
public hearing night.
Yeah, but is public hearing nights cast in concrete the only time you can have a public hearing? No.
It is not.
No,
We can
no, we can do a
definitely
public hearing
deviate.
early, but it has to be noticed, it has to.
Yeah, they have time.
Right, we
Yeah,
have
time for
time.
notice,
Yeah, it's
yeah.
3 weeks.
What's your pleasure, people?
It's up to you guys.
Okay. All right.
Great.
Consensus is?
Thank you.
Yeah,
Bring 'em in.
I don't think we should be using past performance as a way of punishing things.
I
I
think
think
this-
there's a reason for it, and.
Yeah, yes, exactly.
And it's not
Everybody can
unreasonable
turn a new
request.
leaf.
I think it's a beautiful thing. Thank you.
Work with people.
Okay, so the last letter we have tonight is Good Evening Kingston, New Hampshire Planning Board members. My name is Elizabeth Leone, and I would like to inquire about the zoning options for 191 Main Street. So that would be the building at the end of Main Street, just prior to All-American Assisted Living. I found that this property is historical and aquifer zoning, Lot 70. I would like to purchase this property with the intention to restore the barn behind the main house as a small venue center or function hall. The building is nearly renovated, but the barn would be restored to its full potential and historic beauty. I have been an event coordinator for 10 years, and the property in town has so much to offer. My intention is for small events, no more than 100 people in the renovated barn, and a patio space behind the barn. I anticipate a staff of 3 to 5 employees for these events, depending on the size of the event. The hours would be 10 a.m. to 9:30 p.m., with the majority of the events occurring between 2 and 9 on Fridays, Saturdays, and Sundays. The property would likely hold a maximum of 35 events a year. I have included a photo where I would like to put a gravel parking lot for guests and employees. I believe that a small venue will bring business to the town, restaurants, hair salons, gas stations, stores, accommodations, etc. With your advice and approval, I would like to proceed with the purchase of the property and handle all business matters in a respectful manner in terms of the town and community members. I believe these intentions will honor and elevate the beauty and history of the property. If you would like to see other similar venues, please see All Rose Farm in Greenfield, New Hampshire and she's given us the website. Would the planning board provide directions and next steps of the possibility of this use for the property, as well as next steps to obtain approvals? Thank you so much for your time and consideration. I can be reached by email or phone with any questions or of advice. I really look forward to hearing from you. Dr. Leone.
And it is not listed as a permitted use, and so HTC would have to get the application and go over it, and then.
What does she mean by events? What are events?
Weddings,
Like weddings and stuff.
pretty much.
Weddings, not that.
Weddings, that's what she means.
Well, not
Yeah.
just
Retirement
weddings,
parties.
But that, like
Yeah.
wedding type events.
Is there parking?
It's
Not
a
yet.
3-acre lot. So 100 people, probably need what, 60 or 70 parking spaces? Yeah, it is a triangle.
Oh, microphone. The lot constraints may be difficult to accommodate parking.
That would be up to her to determine with an engineer. But
We allow restaurants.
we do, and there's a lot of frontage between the Willette property and All-American. There's a good deal of frontage with that. I happen to know that property pretty well. Good deal of frontage with that property. Yeah, we do allow restaurants.
I mean, the functions of a reception are basically the functions of a restaurant. I mean, I don't know. I think that it's I think it's a restaurant.
Remember, there's gonna be food trucks there.
The what?
And loud music, don't forget the music at the party.
You're right. There are weddings now that like food trucks.
Well, since it is in the historic district, correct?
It is.
Yeah.
So why not send her an application for the HDC, and if they get past that hurdle, the rest would be,
Yeah, let them decide.
right, that would be the greatest challenge, is making
Well,
sure.
planning board determines use,
It
and they would
does.
determine
We
everything
do.
else.
Oh, okay,
And
all
if
right.
she does an application to the Historic District Commission, guess who's gonna review it for the zoning? It's gonna be me, and I'm going to say, I think it's a restaurant use, and other people are going to say, Glenn, you're an idiot. It's not, so I want us to talk about that.
I think she needs to come in and really talk about it. I mean, it would be nice to have a place in town for various clubs to meet and that sort of thing. There is no real venue for things like that in town. Not anymore. We used to, but, you know, it is hard to get any kind of a group or a meeting, even if it's, the library is way too small for when it comes to groups, even for the Lake Association and that sort of thing. You know, if they wanted to have meetings there or something like that, it would be nice to have a venue like that in town. And those would be out by 9:30.
Yeah, but the fireplace has a big enough meeting room, so that would not be a problem, I don't see that.
What would?
They have a meeting room, the fire department. Not for functions, I'm not saying functions, but if you were, you know, I don't see her home being a meeting place.
But the fire department, it's my understanding when the fire department when the new building was built, it was built not to have outside meetings in it because it wasn't designed for that, with the way the bathrooms and everything were.
We allow churches, we allow churches and church-related accessory buildings, which is exactly what the Congregational Church has, that holds weddings and receptions right there,
Right.
because I've been to one.
And we have
Right.
weddings at the Church on the Plains, weddings and funerals. Dennis?
So my input on this would be, I think the lot is pretty small for that number of people, because if you're gonna have like a restaurant type of thing, you gotta have the water supply and the protective zone around the well. If they're gonna have a parking space, you got stormwater management you gotta deal with. And the other important thing is the septic system, which requires, with that much flow, wastewater flow, you have to meet nitrate setbacks. And we ran into that with the All-American Assisted Living, and we had to do these unusual trenches with chips and all of that stuff to compensate for the nitrate setbacks. So on a small lot like that, I can't see the well protective radius, stormwater management that has to be outside of that, and the septic system that is not in the drainage area, all on that same lot. So they've got some hoops to go through as far as design is concerned. So the question is, do they do it ahead of time before they come to the planning board and get stone walled there?
So it may be helpful for her to know that because of the law, her belief that 100-person events are really easy there is maybe not realistic. But if she really is thinking that her functions are 30-person functions, maybe that's a whole different bottle of wax.
She should talk to Christian Smith or somebody like that first.
She
Because
really,
100
I think our
people-
advice to her should be to go to an engineer.
Yeah, 100, I think that our uses permit if what she's really talking about are reception kind of things, we allow churches and their reception halls, and we allow restaurants, which pretty much basically handles the kind of events I think she's talking about.
Yep.
But the number that she's talking about is probably really constrained by that law.
Yeah, the parking, and the water table. The water table.
Yeah, I mean, and she would probably appreciate knowing that. Because right now, I think she's all she's thinking about is, that barn could be really pretty, like the one in Greenfield. And that doesn't necessarily make for a good purchasing argument. I mean, I can certainly offer her to come in, but if the board is comfortable with me discussing some of the things that we've discussed here, she may just realize this might not be the site that she wants. Because it is a pie shape, and that really does constrain her. This isn't a square lot where you can have one row of parking going a long distance. You know, this isn't it.
Okay. Does everyone agree, consensus, to move forward in that direction?
Yes, yeah, I think
Get
she needs to
advice?
talk to an engineer first.
Okay. And then the last thing on the agenda is the fact that the capital improvement plan is beginning next month.
I started working on this.
I have one more.
Oh, and excuse me, we have one more.
Just want to let you know that the cease and desist was issued, but we haven't heard any feedback. I know. What's that?
For what?
From the.
Lone Tree.
Oh, Lone Tree, okay, thank you.
Yeah. The select board has not heard any feedback from it.
Anything about the paving?
The what? The paving company that's that's sort of across the street from the Superfund site?
Yep.
Yeah, I was gonna ask about that.
A lot of trucks, a lot of gravel up front, a lot of everything, and I think.
ECSI?
A lot of materials.
Yeah, that's the one, Peter.
That's what?
ECSI is the property.
Yeah, that property, yeah, we've seen a lot of activity there.
Yeah. Heavy
Isn't
truck
Pedro
material.
into that?
Have I what?
There's heavy trucks, trucking and materials.
I know, you're looking at me, but.
No, I didn't know
haven't
the
been
selectmen had
directed.
heard anything, that's all.
No, we haven't.
I thought Pedro was looking into that.
He is looking, but we haven't got anything back for us to take any action. That poor guy is running 6 ways to Sunday right now.
I believe it. Okay, and Glenn, I'm sorry I interrupted you. Okay.
Oh, yeah, you were talking about you said you were doing the
Capital
letters.
improvement.
And what,
Yeah, I started revising my solicitation letter.
Oh, good.
Okay.
I have stuff out, hopefully for department heads by the end of the day on Monday.
Good.
and how about the getting members from Budget Committee? Did we-
Budget committee is.
Yeah, they've given members.
There's already one member who has.
Oh, good.
Contacted us
Yeah.
to say she's interested.
Oh, good, because that's a new thing, because we
That is a
haven't.
youth. Yeah, she did that 2 weeks ago.
Okay.
Yes.
Anything else? We met our 10 o'clock curfew.
Oh, just barely.
I declare the meeting